While others fight life and death battles to cultivate, I only care about collecting my rent. Having inherited a few plots of spirit fields and several spirit dwellings, I initially thought I was destined for a life of poverty. Yet little did I know that even by lying around I could grow stronger through the rent I collect. Spirit herbs sprout within the fields. Spirit energy radiates from the dwellings, and all of it flows into my body automatically. Those cultivators who kill and maim each other, breaking their heads just for a single medicinal pill. I simply sign a lease agreement, and the spirit stones are delivered straight to my doorstep. What do I care for the great wars of the sects? My only concern is whether I have collected my full rent for the day. Do not ask me what my cultivation realm is. If you must know, I am in the landlord realm. To be invincible is as simple and unadorned as that. A violent fit of coughing jolted me awake from a state of utter chaos. My throat burned, as if I had swallowed a mouthful of sand. Every bone in my body felt shattered. There was not a single inch that did not ache. I struggled to open my eyes, only to be met by a face looming over mine, twisted in disdain. A shrill voice rang in my ears. Chen Fan, stop playing dead. You useless waste. Look at how many clan resources you squander every month. Now that your third uncle and aunt are both gone, do you honestly think anyone else cares about you? Memories surged like a tidal wave, causing my head to throb with pressure. I am Chen Fan, a salaryman from the 21st century. After working endless overtime and collapsing from exhaustion, I found myself transmigrated into the body of an unfortunate soul who shared my very name. This is the Chen clan of Qingyang City, a minor obscure family of cultivators, and I am the most marginalized disciple within this entire clan. My parents perished unexpectedly during a mission, leaving behind only a meager inheritance of a few barren fields and a dilapidated courtyard in the most remote corner of Qingyang City. The original owner of this body was a truly miserable soul, born with a frail constitution and chaotic spiritual roots. He had cultivated for over a decade and remained only at the first layer of qi refining, a bona fide piece of trash. Each month he relied on the clan's meager relief and the remaining savings of his late parents just to cling to life. And the man currently spitting in my face is none other than my cheap cousin, Chen Hao, a man who manages minor chores for the clan, wielding a shred of authority, and who has bullied the original owner countless times. I braced my hand against the bed frame and spoke weakly. My affairs are of no concern to you. Chen Hao let out a cold laugh, his gaze cutting into me like a dagger. Do you think I have any desire to involve myself in your miserable mess? If it weren't for the elder of the enforcement hall, I wouldn't have bothered stepping foot in this wretched place. He reached into his robe, produced a land deed, and threw it directly into my face. The clan has made its decision. Your dilapidated courtyard and those few acres of barren land are a waste in your hands. It just so happens that the prince in the west of the city is looking to purchase land for a pigsty. Your land, being in such a remote location, is perfectly suited for it. Take these 50 low-grade spirit stones. From this day forward, do not claim to be a member of the Chen family, and do not come begging the clan for a single cent again. 50 low-grade spirit stones. The memories in my mind told me that while my courtyard and fields were remote and desolate, and possessed thin spiritual energy, they were worth at least 200 spirit stones in total. This man intended to use a mere 50 spirit stones to cast me out and swallow my final refuge for survival. I gritted my teeth and pushed the land deed away from my face with one hand. I am not selling. Though this body was broken and weak, my pride could not be discarded. If I lost this courtyard, a sickly qi-refining stage 1 cultivator like me would likely starve to death in the streets within 3 days. Chen Hao's eyes narrowed, emitting a dangerous aura. Not selling? Chen Fan, you had better think carefully. Right now, you are nothing but a burden. Without the clan, you are nothing. These 50 stones are the final shred of dignity the clan is granting you. I repeated, I said, I am not selling. My voice was not loud, but it was resolute. Good, very good. Chen Hao laughed in a fit of rage. He grabbed me by the collar and hauled me up from the bed. You useless trash, you dare to defy me? Do you believe I will break your legs today? Let us see how long you can keep that sharp tongue of yours. He raised his fist, the force of his blow, carrying a faint ripple of spiritual power. He was a third-stage qi-refining cultivator. Dealing with a sickly first-stage cultivator like me was more than easy. I closed my eyes, my heart turning cold. I had barely transmigrated, only to be met with a beating, or perhaps even death. This beginning was truly hellish. However, the anticipated pain did not arrive. Chen Hao ceased his movements as a clear voice drifted in from outside the doorway. I opened my eyes to see a young man dressed in the robes of a clan steward entering. He furrowed his brows, casting an expression of evident displeasure toward Chen Hao. It was Chen Yu, a steward of the Chen clan, known to be. Upon seeing who had arrived, Chen Hao reluctantly let go and threw me back onto the bed. Steward Yu, what brings you here? A fawning sycophantic smile spread across Chen Hao's face. Ignoring him entirely, Chen Yu looked toward me and asked, Chen Fan, the clan's intention is this. If you are willing to sell your property, the clan is prepared to offer you a fair price. However, if you do not wish to sell, the clan will not force you. You must decide for yourself. Chen Hao's expression instantly turned unsightly. I gasped for air, offered Chen Yu a look of gratitude and said resolutely, "Steward Yu, I will not sell." Chen Yu nodded, as if he had already anticipated this outcome. He turned to Chen Hao, his tone calm yet carrying an undeniable air of authority. "You have heard him. Do not come here to harass him over this matter again, or you shall be punished according to clan law." "Yes, yes." Chen Hao nodded repeatedly. With a hateful glare in my direction, he slunk away in defeat. Chen Yu glanced at me, sighed, and drew a small porcelain bottle from his storage ring, placing it at my bedside. "This is a bottle of qi-gathering pills. Use them sparingly. You must take care of yourself." Having said this, he turned and departed as well. The room finally returned to silence. Lying on the bed, feeling the fragility and pain racking my body, my heart felt clouded and uncertain. Although I had managed to keep the house for now, what of the future? Relying solely on a first-layer qi condensation cultivation, and this battered body, not to mention reaching immortality, even mere survival was a challenge. Was this transmigrated life of mine destined to be nothing more than a slow wait for death? No, I refused to be resigned to this. Just as my mind was in turmoil, a faint light suddenly flickered before my eyes without warning. Immediately after, a semi-transparent blue interface, resembling a holographic projection from a science fiction film, suddenly manifested before me. Ding. Strong will to survive an obsession with protecting assets detected. The strongest binding to the host, being successful, scanning assets under the host's name. Set 1. A dilapidated spiritual cottage, 3 units of mundane low-grade quality, in a state of long-term disrepair. Spiritual energy leaking severely, array formation incomplete, available for upgrade, renovation, and leasing. Barren spiritual fields, 5 acres of mundane low-grade quality. Status: soil depleted, spiritual veins exhausted, available for upgrade, renovation, and leasing. Newbie starter pack has been issued. Please accept it, host. Am I dreaming? I blink my eyes as hard as I can. That blue control panel remains clearly suspended in midair. A golden finger system. The standard equipment for a transmigrator like me has finally arrived. I am so agitated I nearly bolt upright from the bed. But the movement aggravates the wounds on my body, triggering a cough so violent it feels as though my lungs are tearing apart. Yet this time my heart is no longer filled with despair. Instead, a flame of hope burns fiercely within me. Landlord system. I whisper the name silently in my mind. Greetings, host. This system is dedicated to cultivating you into the strongest, most carefree landlord across the myriad realms. The cold, mechanical voice resonates in my head, yet it sounds like music from the heavens. How does one become a landlord? I ask urgently. It is very simple. The host only needs to lease the assets under your name to receive rent. The forms of rent are diverse. They can be spirit stones, dharma treasures, medicinal elixirs, cultivation manuals, or even destiny and providence. More importantly, as long as the host's properties are under lease, and the tenants cultivate and live within those properties, the positive energy generated, such as increases in cultivation base, insights into the Tao, or joyous moods, will all be converted into the purest spiritual energy at a set ratio. This automatically nourishes the host and elevates the host's own cultivation level. The stronger the tenants, the greater the benefits the host receives. The ultimate goal for the host is to collect rent while lying down and ascend to immortality automatically. Collect rent while lying down, ascend to immortality automatically. Damn it, I am completely stunned. The systems of others are either about slaying monsters to level up, or refining pills and weapons, or killing others to seize their treasures. Yet my system forces me to become a landlord, and it is the kind of ability that allows one to grow stronger even while lying down. This is exactly what I have been hoping for. In my past life, I fought tooth and nail for the sake of KPIs, only to collapse and perish at my desk. In this life, I refuse to contend for anything. There will be no more bloodshed or mindless fighting. Bitter seclusion and arduous training are too exhausting. I would rather be a landlord, counting spirit stones from a rocking chair while watching my cultivation base rise effortlessly. Is this not the celestial life I have always dreamed of? Opening the novice gift pack, I struggle to contain the overwhelming excitement surging within me. Execute command. And the novice gift pack has been opened. Congratulations to the host for receiving 1 asset repair contract, capable of restoring any property under your name to its optimal state. 2. 1 tenant recruitment talisman, capable of automatically searching for and attracting the most suitable tenants within a 100-mile radius. 3. 1 bottle of physique improvement serum, capable of cleansing the marrow and meridians and improving the host's current frail constitution. These are all high-quality items, precisely what I require most at this moment. Without a moment's hesitation, I retrieve the vial of physique improvement serum, which emanates a faint emerald glow. Following the system's instructions, I drain the contents in 1 gulp. A warm stream of energy immediately radiates from my stomach, flooding through my limbs and meridians. Moments later, an indescribable sensation of vitality sweeps across my entire body, as if every single cell were rejoicing. I can clearly feel the previously obstructed meridians being unblocked by a force that is both gentle and powerful. My once frail and feeble body is recovering its strength at a pace visible to the naked eye. A layer of sticky black impurities is even secreted from the surface of my skin, emitting a foul odor, yet I pay it no mind. Minutes later, as the warmth fully integrates into my body, I feel as though I have been reborn. The illnesses that plagued me before have vanished, and my body is now brimming with vigor. I leap from the bed, landing firmly upon the ground. I throw a punch, the air whistling with the force of it. The chronic illness that tormented the original owner for over a decade has been cured by nothing more than a small vial of medicine. Exhilarated, I run to the well in the courtyard and douse myself from head to toe with a bucket of water. After washing away the filth and changing into clean clothes, I feel refreshed in both body and spirit. Next, it is time to tend to my properties. I gaze at the 2 low-grade mortal-tier assets displayed on the system interface and fall into contemplation. System, utilize the asset repair contract on the dilapidated spirit shell. The spirit fields can wait, but my residence must be addressed first. Only a superior living environment can attract high-quality tenants. Command confirmed. The asset repair contract is now in effect. Following the system's prompt, the dilapidated courtyard before me began to undergo a startling transformation. A gentle, brilliant white light enveloped the entire courtyard. The peeling walls, once riddled with cracks, quickly became polished and seamless under the radiance of the light. Upon the roof, broken tiles automatically returned to their rightful places, and the overgrown weeds withered and vanished in an instant. The uneven ground of the courtyard leveled out, becoming as smooth as a mirror. Even the nearly dried-up well surged with water, which became crystal clear and filled to the brim. Most miraculous of all, I could sense a faint flow of spiritual energy beginning to gather and circulate within the courtyard. Although still very weak, it was vastly superior to the stagnant, lifeless atmosphere from before. The dilapidated spirit dwelling had been restored into a pristine abode. Property: 1 pristine spirit dwelling, 3 rooms, low-grade spirit rank, initial stage, abundant spiritual energy status, spirit gathering and dust repelling arrays activated. Evaluation: a clean and comfortable residence capable of providing a suitable cultivation environment for chi refining cultivators. Transitioning from mundane rank to spirit rank may only be an initial step, but it is undoubtedly a qualitative leap. I pushed open the main door. The interior was bright and immaculate, the furniture free of even a speck of dust, and the air carried a faint, refreshing scent of spiritual energy. Taking a single breath was enough to invigorate the spirit. This was no longer the crumbling ruin it had been moments ago. Perfect, I nodded in satisfaction. All preparations were complete, save for a tenant. I produced the golden recruitment talisman and began to contemplate what manner of tenant I required. First, they must not be prone to causing trouble. I seek only to collect rent in peace. Second, it would be preferable if they possessed some degree of potential. Only then would the benefits I reap be substantial. Finally, and most importantly, they must be of good character, at the very least, not ungrateful. If they were to abscond with the rent, or heaven forbid, commit murder for treasure, what then? After a moment of deliberation, I silently issued a command to the system. Search for someone with upright morals and decent talent, who's in need of a safe place to cultivate and possesses the means to pay rent. The command was received. The recruitment talisman in my hand spontaneously ignited, transforming into a streak of golden light that soared into the sky and vanished beyond the horizon. All that remained was to wait, and I was in no hurry. I retrieved the remaining bamboo rocking chair from before, placed it in the center of the courtyard, and reclined in comfort. The sunlight was moderate, and the breeze was gentle. This was the life I had envisioned. I lay upon the rocking chair for nearly an hour, nearly drifting off to sleep. Just as I was slipping into a slumber, the sound of urgent yet weak footsteps echoed from outside the courtyard gate. Immediately after, I opened my eyes, a faint smirk tugging at the corners of my mouth. It was time. I rose slowly, walked to the courtyard gate, and slid the bolt open. Standing outside was a woman who appeared utterly wretched. She wore a pale blue gown, yet it was stained with blood and thick with mud. In several places, the fabric had been shredded by sharp blades, revealing the deep wounds beneath. Her complexion was as pale as paper, and her breathing was erratic. She was clearly suffering from severe internal injuries, but what drew my attention most was her gaze, a pair of eyes that remained bright, resolute, and filled with unyielding defiance and vigilance, even in the face of despair. Upon seeing me, she was momentarily stunned, seemingly not expecting the one who opened the door to be a youth so young, with a cultivation base of only the first level of chi condensation. Her eyes quickly scanned the courtyard behind me. When she noticed the cleanliness of the grounds and the faint spiritual energy within, the wariness in her gaze softened slightly, replaced by a trace of astonishment. "Is this place for rent?" she asked, her voice raspy, yet remarkably pleasant to the ears. I nodded, imitating the mannerisms of the brokers from my past life, and offered a smile I considered to be quite friendly. "Indeed, it is for rent. Miss, I see you appear weary and travel-worn, and your physical condition seems quite grave. Why not come inside, have a cup of water, and we can discuss the details afterward?" She hesitated for a moment, a youth at the first level of chi condensation, guarding a decent spirit dwelling. This in itself was rather suspicious, but the injuries ravaging her body could no longer be suppressed. If she did not find a secure place to heal, the consequences would be dire. Ultimately, she gritted her teeth and nodded, following me into the courtyard. I am Chen Fan, the owner of this residence. I introduced myself while leading her inside. Lu Qingyan, she replied, stating her name plainly. I led her to the stone table in the courtyard and used the crystal clear water from the well to pour her a cup. Lu Qingyan picked up the cup, took a light sip, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Spirit spring water. The spiritual energy contained within this well water, while faint, is exceptionally pure. It will be of great benefit to my recovery. I smiled, neither confirming nor denying her assessment. Miss, I can see your wounds are severe. You are likely in urgent need of a quiet place to cultivate and heal, are you not? I asked directly. Lu Qingyan nodded, her gaze fixed steadily upon me. That is correct. How do you charge for renting your courtyard? She had already prepared herself to be fleeced. For a courtyard already equipped with both a spirit-gathering array and a dust-repelling array. In Qingyang City, the rent would be at least 20 low-grade spirit stones per month, and usually they only offered long-term leases. At this moment, all the savings she possessed amounted to just over 30 spirit stones. At most, she could afford only 1 month. I raised one finger and Lu Qingyan's heart sank. Was it 100 low-grade spirit stones? Or perhaps 10 middle-grade spirit stones? It was just as she expected, taking advantage of her desperate situation. 1 low-grade spirit stone per month. I spoke slowly. What? Lu Qingyan suddenly lifted her head, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. She wondered if her injuries were so severe that she was suffering from hallucinations. 1 low-grade spirit stone. How was this any different from giving it away for free? You did not hear me wrong. 1 low-grade spirit stone per month, I confirmed once more. Why? She asked, bewildered, as vigilance flickered once again in her eyes. What conditions do you have? There is no such thing as a free lunch in this world. She understood this principle better than anyone. Conditions, you ask? There is indeed one. I stroked my chin and pointed toward the plots of barren land in the corner of the courtyard. As you can see, I am quite a lazy person. I have just finished cleaning up, but those few plots of land remain untended. I noticed that you seem to have some knowledge regarding herbs. Your rental period. You can simply help me cultivate those few plots of land. You may plant whatever you wish at your convenience. Liu Qingyan was stunned. Was this truly the only condition? Helping him cultivate a few plots of barren land. Could this even be considered a condition? She looked at me and discovered my gaze was clear, my expression sincere, devoid of even a hint of deceit or greed. She did not understand, but her current circumstances no longer allowed her the luxury of overthinking. Very well, I accept your terms. She nodded instantly. Let alone cultivating a few plots of land, she would have even agreed to guard the courtyard if asked. Then it is settled. I smiled. Ding. Potential tenant detected. Shall I generate a rental contract? I thought to myself. The very next moment, a contract glowing with a faint golden light appeared in my hand. This was a Grandao contract, manifested by the system. Once signed, both parties are bound by its terms. Any violation would result in divine retribution from the Great Tao. This was precisely the security I required. I handed the contract to Lu Qingyan. This is the rental agreement. Look it over, and if you find no issues, place a drop of your blood upon it. Lu Qingyan took the contract, reading through the remarkably simple terms. Party B, Lu Qingyan. The rental of a spirit dwelling, a clean room in the east wing. Rental period, 1 month. Rent 1 low-grade spirit stone. Additional terms. During the rental period, Party B must assist Party A in cultivating the spirit fields and ensure that the property is not intentionally damaged. It was that simple. After verifying the terms 3 times, Lu Qingyan no longer hesitated. She shed a drop of her essence blood onto the contract. The contract immediately erupted in a brilliant golden radiance, then transformed into 2 streaks of light that vanished into the centers of our brows. Congratulations, host, on the successful rental of a spirit dwelling. Tenants finding, suffering from severe injuries. Tenant successfully bound. Rental period, 30 days. The rent has been automatically deposited into the system space. The host may withdraw it at any time. The tenant is satisfied with the living environment. Her mood is uplifted, and she is currently converting spiritual energy. Tenant detected operating a healing cultivation technique. Spiritual energy conversion efficiency increased. Ding. The host's cultivation level has begun to grow automatically, almost the moment the contract took effect. A warm current, purer and more vast than the energy from my previous physical transformation, manifested naturally within my limbs and bones. This warm current flowed ceaselessly, tempering my meridians, nourishing my dantian. The bottleneck of my first layer of chi refining encountered almost no resistance. It was shattered instantly. Second layer of chi refining. Furthermore, my cultivation continued to rise, albeit at a My heart brimmed with joy, yet I allowed no emotion to flicker across my face, maintaining the detached composure of an enlightened master. Is this truly the feeling of leveling up while merely lying down? It is nothing short of euphoric. After signing the contract, Liu Qingyan hurried into the east wing and sealed the door to begin healing her injuries. As for me, I returned to my rocking chair, closed my eyes, and felt my cultivation base steadily climbing. Sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, warming my body, while the gentle breeze whispered in my ears. Within my dantian, spiritual energy circulated of its own accord. To have one's cultivation base rise automatically, this is what I call a life. All the bloodshed, the clashing of sects, and the endless grievances can stay far away. Do not disturb me. I simply wish to be a quiet innkeeper. Over the next few days, I lived the life of ease I had always dreamt of. My daily routine consisted of waking up and reclining on my rocking chair in the courtyard to bask in the sun. That was all. As for food, my cultivation had reached the 7th level of qi refining, rendering my need for mortal grains minimal. If I grew hungry, I simply drank a mouthful of water from the well. That pure spirit spring water is far more nourishing than any mountain delicacies or exotic feasts. Cultivation. What is that? Is it something one can eat? My cultivation base increases with every passing moment. While the speed is not as explosive as it was in the beginning, a single day of this still far exceeds the gains of an ordinary cultivator meditating for an entire day. In just 3 short days, my cultivation has stabilized at the peak of the 2nd level of qi refining. I am now but a single step away from breaking through to the 3rd level. This sensation is truly beyond compare. As for my first tenant, Liu Qingyan has not emerged from the east wing since she moved in. I can feel the spiritual energy fluctuations radiating from that room growing increasingly intense. It is evident she is exerting every ounce of her strength to heal. The harder she works, the greater the benefits I receive. A magnificent mutually beneficial relationship has formed between us. She is my tenant, and simultaneously the instrument of my growing power. Naturally, I have not been entirely idle. I have dedicated some time to thoroughly researching this innkeeper system. The system interface is remarkably straightforward. Beyond assets and tenant information, there is also a property management section. Clicking within reveals detailed data regarding my property. The spirit abode remains pristine. The current occupancy is 1/3 of the total capacity. Daily production yield. Spiritual energy increases by 10. Asset points increase by 1. Upgrade options. First, increase the concentration of spiritual energy, consuming asset points. Second, add functional rooms, such as alchemy rooms or weapon refining rooms, consuming asset points. Third, upgrade the defensive formation, consuming asset points. Status of the Wasteland Spirit Field, currently unleashed. Spiritual energy +1, asset points +0.1. Upgrade options. First, increase soil fertility, consuming asset points. Second, renovate into specialized spirit fields, such as winemaking fields or mineral fields, consuming asset points. Asset points are acquired through the ownership and management of properties, as well as the collection of rent. I retrieved the low-grade spirit stone that Liu Qingyan had paid me. The system immediately rewarded me with 10 asset points. Combined with the automatic yield from my properties over the past few days, I now possess a total of 13.1 points. Looking at the long list of grayed-out upgrade options, I could not help but salivate. An alchemy room. A weapon refining room. If I could construct those, would I ever need to worry about failing to lease my properties again? Wouldn't the rental income be so immense that I would grow weary just from counting it? However, my points are currently too scarce. I can only look on from afar. Just as I was mapping out the plans for my future real estate empire, the courtyard gate was struck by heavy, rhythmic knocks. This time, the knocking was filled with impatience and arrogance. I furrowed my brows. Even without looking, I knew exactly who it was. I took a rocking chair and walked over to open the gate. As expected, standing outside was my esteemed cousin, Chen Hao. Behind him stood 2 of his lackeys, both descendants of the Chen family's branch lineage. Upon seeing me, Chen Hao was taken aback for a moment, noticing that I seemed different compared to a few days prior. My complexion was vibrant, and my aura was stable, entirely devoid of my previous sickly appearance. Yet, he did not think much of it, merely assuming that the medicinal pill Chen Yu had given me was simply a final burst of vigor before death. Chen Fan, I haven't seen you for a few days, and your complexion is not looking half bad. Chen Hao spoke with a strange mocking tone. Though I suppose you are still clinging to life. I responded with cold indifference. I hear you have leased out this dilapidated courtyard? Chen Hao cast a glance toward the courtyard. That is correct. Is there a problem? To whom I lease my property? I do not recall needing to report that to you, do I? Of course, you need not. Chen Hao let out a cold laugh, his tone thick with mockery. I was merely curious as to which fool would actually lease this godforsaken place of yours. I heard it was even a young woman. Chen Fan, you are quite capable. Not seen for a few days, and you have already learned the trick of hiding a beauty in a golden house? The 2 lackeys behind him echoed his laughter in a vulgar manner. My expression darkened and I spoke. Insult me if you must, but you shall not insult my tenant. Tran Hao, keep your mouth clean. If you have business, speak it. If not, begone and do not stand at my threshold. You, a piece of trash like Tran Hu, dare to speak so insolently to me? Tran Hao was instantly enraged. I came here today to see just how much money this wretched place of yours could possibly earn. I heard the rent is 1 spirit stone per month. You have made me die of laughter. Tran Fam, you are truly a disgrace to the face of our Tran clan. For 1 spirit stone, you might as well have given it away for free. Are you running a rental business or a charity? I suspect that little girl had nowhere else to go and has used her own body to pay the rent. These words were foul and unsightly. My gaze turned ice cold. I repeat myself one last time. Begone. I refuse to leave. What will you do about it? Tran Hao puffed out his chest arrogantly and stepped into the courtyard. Today I must see which celestial maiden has set her sights on a piece of trash like you. Having said that, he attempted to barge into the courtyard. I stood motionless in my spot. Just as Tran Hao's foot was about to touch the stone slab in the courtyard, a sudden shift occurred. A translucent light screen, nearly invisible to the naked eye, instantly manifested at the courtyard entrance. Thwack. Tran Hao collided with an invisible wall, his entire body repelled by a tremendous force. With a heavy thud, he sprawled onto the ground. He let out a pained cry, leaving the 2 lackeys behind him stunned. Brother Hao, are you all right? How can this be? Why is there a formation here? Chen Hao was equally dumbfounded. Clutching his throbbing backside, he stared in terror at the empty courtyard entrance. The impact just now had nearly shattered his bones. Since when did this dilapidated courtyard have a defensive formation? Why was he completely unaware of it? I stood above, looking down at him, a cold smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. I forgot to mention, my courtyard has been fitted with a new security system. Those without authorization are forbidden from entering the formation. Chen Hao scrambled up from the ground, his face a mask of disbelief. He stared intently at the courtyard gate, reaching out to cautiously probe the space in front of him. As his fingertips touched the frame, he felt a gentle yet immovable resistance. A faint, ethereal light shimmered in the air before vanishing. It really is a formation. One of the lackeys exclaimed in shock. Chen Hao's expression shifted between pale and flushed, looking unsightly to the extreme. How can this be? Chen Fan, since when did that piece of trash have the funds to set up a formation? Moreover, judging by the intensity of this formation, even if it is only a basic defensive array, it would still require dozens, if not hundreds, of spirit stones to construct. Where did he get the money? Chen Fan Yu. Where did you get the spirit stones to set up a formation? Chen Hao pointed at me, questioning me with a threatening tone. This, you ask? I slowly walked back to the rocking chair, reclined and crossed my legs, saying, a trade secret that cannot be disclosed to you. Chen Hao trembled with rage. He felt like a clown who had aggressively marched here to stir up trouble, only to find himself unable to even step through the man's door. If word of this spread, where would he hide his face? It's just a pathetic formation, watch as I shatter it. Incensed, Chen Hao channeled his internal spirit energy, his 3rd-level chi refining cultivation exploding outward as he threw a powerful punch at the invisible barrier. A mountain-splitting fist. The wind of his strike howled, carrying a fierce and aggressive momentum. However, a punch capable of shattering stone and splitting wood instead sank into the light barrier like mud into the sea. The barrier merely rippled slightly, effortlessly absorbing the entirety of his force. In contrast, Chen Hao himself was recoiling, his arm numbed by the rebound as he stumbled back several paces. How could it be this sturdy? Chen Hao's face was filled with astonishment. His full-strength strike as a 3rd-layer chi condensation cultivator could not even cause the slightest tremor in the formation. This must be at least a mid-grade defensive formation. What kind of fortune has this piece of trash stumbled upon? Just then, the door to the east room creaked open. Liu Qingyan stepped out from within. She had changed into a clean white dress. Though her face remained pale, her aura had stabilized significantly. It was evident that her injuries had half healed, and her cultivation had recovered to the peak of the 6th-layer chi condensation. As soon as she exited and saw Chen Hao and his companions at the door, Liu Qingyan's brow immediately furrowed. Master, are you having trouble? She walked to my side and asked in a low voice. Her voice was cold and detached, carrying an air of distance that deterred others from drawing near. Yet when she looked at me, her eyes held a hint of inquiry and genuine concern. It is nothing, merely a few flies. Buzzings incessantly and causing a nuisance. I waved my hand signaling her not to pay them any mind. Chen Hao's gaze froze the moment he caught sight of Liu Qingyan. What a stunning woman. Even though she appeared sickly, it could not obscure her beauty, and that icy demeanor only made his heart race with desire. So you are the one renting this place. Chen's tone shifted instantly, filled with a sense of self-importance. Arrogant and greedy, Liu Qingyan did not bother to acknowledge him, simply standing quietly by my side and ignoring him entirely. Chen Hao's expression stiffened before he redirected all his fury toward me. Chen Fan, you useless piece of trash, you dare to collude with outsiders? This woman's background is unknown. What is your motive for letting her stay on family property? He began to heap accusations upon me, but I was too weary to pay him any attention. Liu Qingyan also seemed unwilling to stir up trouble. She turned and walked toward the small plot of land in the corner of the courtyard. After several days of cultivation, the once barren soil had begun to show signs of life. Liu Qingyan retrieved a handful of spiritual seeds from her storage ring and began to till and sow the ground with practiced ease. Her movements were delicate, as if she were tending to a precious treasure. Seeing himself completely disregarded, jealousy and rage nearly erupted within Chen Hao. By what right? By what right does this piece of trash deserve the favor of such a peerless beauty? By what right does this piece of trash deserve to reside in a spirit residence protected by a formation? The more he pondered, the more his indignation grew. His gaze locked onto the plot of spiritual farmland that Liu Qingyan was cultivating. Merely putting on airs. Chen Hao sneered, remarking that such a wretched patch of soil could not even sustain the lowest grade green firegrass, yet he dared to attempt growing medicinal herbs upon it. Truly laughable. To prove his point and to salvage his dignity before Liu Qingyan, he once again channeled his spiritual energy, striking out with a palm from a distance toward the plot of land that had just been sown with seeds. Be destroyed. A palm imprint condensed from spiritual energy roared through the air toward the spiritual field. Liu Qingyan's expression shifted. She had not expected the other party to be so shameless, launching an attack against a mere plot of land. Instinctively, she moved to intervene, but it was already too late. My gaze turned icy in an instant. One may provoke me, and one may even provoke my tenants, but to touch my property is to threaten my livelihood. However, just as the spiritual palm imprint was about to strike the field, an unforeseen event occurred. Pop! A layer of earth-yellow light erupted from the ground, manifesting as a semicircular shield that encased all 5 acres of spiritual farmland. Chen Hao's seemingly unstoppable strike impacted the yellow barrier, failing to produce even a ripple before dissipating silently into nothingness. The entire garden fell into a deathly silence. Chen Hao and his 2 lackeys stood with jaws agape, wide enough to swallow an egg, their eyes bulging as if they might fall from their sockets. Liu Qingyan also froze mid-motion, her beautiful eyes filled with astonishment. What had she just witnessed? This seemingly ordinary patch of earth actually possessed a defensive formation. Furthermore, the aura of this formation was dense and stable, appearing far more advanced than the defensive formation at the entrance. Just where exactly is this place? I remained reclined on the rocking chair, merely shifting to a more comfortable position before letting out a lazy yawn. I have stated it before, this is my territory. In my domain, every blade of grass and every tree is under my protection. If you wish to cause destruction, you must be prepared to pay the price. This is the fundamental rule of property management. Do you understand? Chen Hao was left utterly stunned. If the defensive formation at the entrance had surprised him, then the autonomous formation of this spiritual field left him. This completely transcended his understanding. A good-for-nothing abandoned by his clan, a property dismissed as utter trash. How could such bizarre anomalies exist here? He looked at me, reclining on the rocking chair with a nonchalant expression, and for the first time, a chill crept up his spine. This Chen Fan was absolutely not the talentless fool he once knew. You? Just who exactly are you? Chen Hao's voice trembled slightly. I am your brother Fan, I replied with a languid tone. Let us leave. Chen Hao dared not linger any longer. He now only wished to flee this godforsaken place as quickly as possible and report everything he had witnessed to the clan elders. He had a premonition that Chen Fan possessed a heaven-defying secret. Watching the trio scramble away in a panic, I pursed my lips. With such meager courage, they still dared to play the role of local tyrants. Landlord. Liu Qingyan approached my side, hesitating to speak. Her state of mind at this moment was even more complex than Chen Hao's. She had stayed here for several days, yet she had completely failed to notice that every house and every blade of grass in this courtyard was infused with such formidable formations. This landlord, who appeared to be merely at the first level of qi refining, likely possessed an identity far beyond his outward appearance. What is it? Were you frightened? I looked at her and said with a smile, and no, I was not. Liu Qingyan shook her head, then solemnly performed a bow of respect toward me. I thank the landlord for your assistance. There is no need for such formalities, I said, waving my hand. You are my tenant. Ensuring your safety, and incidentally ensuring my property remains undamaged, is the responsibility of a landlord such as myself. Furthermore, if they had truly driven you away, who would help me tend to my crops? Hearing my half-joking, half-earnest reply, a rare, faint smile, delicate as melting ice, appeared on Liu Qingyan's cold features, a sight breathtaking to behold. She did not probe further. Wisely choosing to remain silent, she turned back to continue tending to the spirit fields. After the recent events, she became even more attentive to this land. She sensed, albeit vaguely, that this seemingly ordinary plot of land might yield an unimaginable surprise for her. As for me, I opened the system interface. The host has successfully repelled the outside intrusion. effectively protecting the safety of the tenant and the property. Rating, excellent. The reward, 50 management points and a property upgrade coupon. Upon use, the points required to upgrade any property will be reduced by half. My eyes brightened. It seems even a stroke of luck can arrive unexpectedly. With enough points in hand, I did not hesitate to open the property management interface and select the upgrade option for the clean room. The system applied the property upgrade coupon, increasing the spiritual energy density of the east room by 1 level. Lu Qingyan is my first tenant and my only source of spiritual energy. She deserves the best treatment I can provide. Confirming the command after using the coupon, this upgrade cost 25 points. Confirm? Confirming. Upgrade in progress. As the thought crossed my mind, Lu Qingyan, who was busy near the door of the east room, suddenly trembled. She abruptly turned to look at her room, her beautiful eyes filled with astonishment once again. She could clearly feel the spiritual energy concentration within the room rising at a terrifying speed. What was initially only slightly denser than the outside air had now condensed into a tangible mist-like state. Cultivating in such an environment would increase one's speed by at least threefold. Heavens, this is no longer inferior to the private caves of inner sect disciples from the great sects. She looked over at the youth lying on the rocking chair, as if he had no care in the world, her gaze becoming incredibly complex, filled with awe, gratitude, and curiosity, a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. What is the true background of this young landlord? Just how many secrets is he still hiding? Time flowed by and a month had passed. I had lived quite comfortably during this time. Every day I merely rested, yet my cultivation base soared from the 2nd level of qi refining to the 8th. This rocket-like speed of progression, if revealed, would likely shock the entire Qingliang city. As for my tenant, Lu Qingyan, she had also undergone a transformation. Within such an environment abundant with spiritual energy, not only had her injuries fully healed, but her cultivation base had also successfully broken through. She advanced from the 6th level of qi refining to the 7th in a single stride. What surprised me even more was that she truly lives up to her reputation as a genius of the herbalist path. Under her care, the 5 acres of spiritual fields have become brimming with vitality. The seeds she sowed previously have grown into fully matured spiritual herbs. Among them, some have even reached the highest superior grade. One must realize that my spiritual fields are currently only of the lowest grade. Growing top-tier superior spiritual herbs is nothing short of a miracle. Today is the day the lease expires, and Liu Qingyan arrived before me early this morning. In her hand, she held a storage pouch. Landlord, this is the rent for the month. Thank you for allowing me to stay here. Her tone was filled with genuine gratitude. This is the rent we agreed upon. She handed over a storage bag which I accepted. My divine sense swept through it. Inside were not just 1 low-grade spirit stone, but 10, alongside a dozen spirit herbs in excellent condition. You have taken me by surprise with this gesture, miss. Lu Qingyan smiled and replied. Your spirit marsh and spirit fields, sir, are worth far more than a single spirit stone. I have benefited greatly this month. These few items are nothing in comparison. She paused, then added, furthermore, this is the first batch of spirit herbs I have harvested from the spirit fields. According to our agreement, I should share half with you. I looked into her sincere eyes and smiled. Truly an excellent tenant. Not only did you not default on the rent, but you also voluntarily paid extra, even accounting for the yield with such clarity. Received rent from tenant Lu Qingyan. Assessment exceeded expectations. Reward, 100 management points, 1 random draw opportunity. Received rent in kind from tenant Lu Qingyan. Rank 1 spirit herbs obtained. Spirit field assets gained experience points. Soil fertility increased slightly. A series of system notifications brought a surge of satisfaction. Very well, I shall not stand on ceremony, I said, accepting the storage bag. Do you have any future plans? Do you intend to continue your stay? Upon hearing this, a trace of melancholy and hesitation appeared on Lu Qingyan's face. I fear I must depart. Oh? Have you found a better place? That is not it. She shook her head with a bitter smile and said, It is my enemies. I fear they will soon track me here. I do not wish to bring trouble upon you, sir. My brows arched. If there was one thing I did not fear, it was trouble. I looked at her and said softly, As long as you wish to stay, and as long as you pay your rent on time, even if the heavenly kings themselves come knocking, they shall not drive you from my courtyard. This is my promise as a landlord to his tenant. Lu Qingyan's eyes reddened slightly. Since the destruction of her sect and being hunted by her enemies, this was the first time someone had spoken such words to her. A young man whose cultivation appeared to be only at the 1st level of qi refining dared to claim that even the heavenly king himself would not make him tremble. This stirred a wave of warmth within her heart and a sense of security she had never felt before. My enemies are from the Black Fire sect. Their influence is immense, and the elder leading them is a Foundation Establishment Cultivator. Lu Qingyan's voice was filled with anxiety. A Foundation Establishment Cultivator was indeed a troublesome matter. In the entire Qingliang city, the strongest clan head was only at the 9th level of qi refining. A Foundation Establishment expert was enough to sweep away everything here. I rubbed my chin, lost in thought, not out of fear, but weighing the risks against the rewards. Is it worth offending a Foundation establishment cultivator and an entire sect for the sake of a mere tenant? Subquest triggered. Protect the tenant. Quest description. An excellent landlord has the responsibility and duty to protect the personal safety of their tenant and to maintain the sanctity of the rental agreement. Quest rewards. Depending on the level of completion, the system will grant a large amount of management points and unlock the special merchandise section in the system shop. The system's voice echoed right on time. Unlocking special merchandise. This reward was intriguing. I reached a decision immediately. What of a Foundation establishment cultivator? I leaned back into my rocking chair, looking at Liu Qingyan with a calm expression. I have already said that on my territory, I am the one who decides. You may rest assured and remain here. Even if the heavens were to collapse, this landlord would be the one to hold them up for you. Liu Qingyan looked at me and finally nodded firmly. She chose to place her trust in me. That day, Chen Hao stumbled back, immediately reporting my affairs to the clan elders with plenty of exaggeration. A piece of trash had suddenly undergone a drastic change in temperament and now possessed a residence with a powerful formation. This immediately captured the attention of the clan's upper echelons. The next day, the head of the Chen clan, who was also my uncle, arrived. Chen Tianxiong personally led several elders to my small courtyard. With a cultivation at the 9th level of qi refining, Chen Tianxiong was a renowned figure in Qingliang City. Standing at the gate, he felt the faint fluctuations of the formation, his expression grave. Chen Fan, open the door. Chen Tianjing's booming voice echoed throughout the courtyard. I walked out leisurely to open the gate. Uncle, honorable elders, what wind has blown you all here today? I leaned against the doorframe and asked languidly. Seeing my indifferent demeanor, Chen Hao followed behind, seething with frustration. Chen Fan noticed that I did not offer the customary greetings to the patriarch and the elders, and he shouted at me. I merely glanced at him once, unwilling to spare him another thought. Chen Qiang's gaze swept over me like a sharp blade, as if attempting to pierce through my very soul. Yet, he was met with disappointment. The spiritual energy within my body had been concealed to the absolute limit. Under the shroud of the system, and that mysterious rocking chair, my cultivation level still appeared as that of a harmless practitioner at the first stage of qi condensation. Chen Fan, Chen Tianxiong said in a deep voice. Where did you obtain the formation array within your courtyard? Oh, this? A few days ago, while tidying the house, I accidentally stumbled upon a manual of formation insights and several formation plates left behind by my father, so I simply set them up out of curiosity. I never expected them to actually be effective. This explanation was logical and sound. My thrift father had indeed studied formation arrays during his lifetime, and Tianxiong knit his brows, clearly hovering between skepticism and belief. There is an outsider staying in your courtyard? He asked again. If you are referring to Miss Liu, she is my tenant. She helps me tend to the spirit fields while I am away. A short-tempered elder immediately barked in rage. This is family property. How can you allow an outsider to dwell here? What if she is a spy from a rival clan? You must drive her away at once. I smiled, third elder. That is an improper assessment. Firstly, this courtyard and the land are my private inheritance, left to me by my parents. My name remains on the land deed. This has nothing to do with the clan's assets. Secondly, whom I choose to rent my home to is my own affair. I do not recall the clan having any jurisdiction over my personal matters. Finally, my expression turned cold. Miss Liu is my tenant, and we have signed a contract. If you wish for her to leave, that is fine. But you will be the ones to pay the breach of contract fee. My rent is quite expensive after all. The third elder was left speechless, trembling with fury at my retort. Chen Tianxiong finally lost his composure. A wave of pressure from the 9th stage of qi condensation descended like a collapsing sky, as he sought to crush my will with his sheer presence. However, when that oppressive force reached within 3 feet of my body, it was neutralized by an invisible power, vanishing without a trace. I remained leaning against the doorframe, not even blinking an eye. Chen Tianxiong's pupils contracted in shock. How could this be? His 9th stage qi condensation aura was immense. Even a cultivator at the 7th or 8th stage would not be able to remain so composed. This Chen Fan is undoubtedly hiding something. Chen Fan, I shall ask you one final time. Chen Tianxiong's voice turned deathly cold. Will you step aside? He was prepared to strike. If I dared to utter a single word of refusal, he would immediately unleash his thunderous strength to seize me and investigate the secrets hidden within this courtyard. I looked at him and slowly shook my head. Uncle, I advise you not to act. The consequences of attacking me here are far beyond what you can bear. Arrogant. Tran Tianheng was thoroughly enraged, and he ceased his idle chatter. And he unleashed a palm strike toward me. He had used 70% of his power for this blow. Spiritual energy surged, the wind roared, intending to subdue me in a single strike. Yet, at the very moment his palm was about to touch me, I moved. To be precise, I did not move. I merely tapped my finger gently against the doorframe. A faint sound echoed, and the entire courtyard, along with the 5 acres of spirit field surrounding it, trembled slightly. A terrifying pressure, vast and as indescribable as an abyss, instantly descended from the heavens. This pressure was not aimed at any one individual. It blanketed the entire area outside the courtyard gate. Tran Hao and the accompanying elders had not even time to react before their legs went weak, and they collapsed to the ground in unison. The spiritual energy within their bodies was completely suppressed. They could not summon even a shred of it. As for Chen Fan, who bore the brunt of the impact, it was as if he had been struck by lightning. His palm aimed toward me, froze in midair, his entire body trapped by an invisible force, unable to move a muscle. His expression shifted from fury to astonishment, finally contorting into boundless terror. What manner of power is this? A domain? That is impossible. Such a feat is reserved only for Golden Core ancestors. He stared at me in horror, gazing at the nephew still leaning against the doorframe with a languid smile on his face. In that moment, he finally understood the meaning of my earlier words. I am the master of this house. I decide the outcome. Here I am a god. The entire space fell into a deathly silence. Tran Fan and the elders knelt on the ground, cold sweat drenching their bodies. They dared not even lift their heads. They could clearly feel an invisible but incomparable force pressing down upon them like a massive mountain. A single thought from me would be enough to reduce them to ashes instantly. This was the absolute suppression of life forms at different tiers. Elders, the ground is cold. Please rise, I said with a smile, as if nothing at all had just occurred. As my words faded, the terrifying pressure vanished without a trace. Tran Fan and the others, as if granted a reprieve, the gaze they leveled at me shifted from suspicion and indignation to utter reverence and panic. Tran Fam, no young Master Fam? Tran Tianheng's voice trembled. He no longer dared to address me by my full name. We were impolite just now. We hope young Master Fam will forgive our transgressions. He immediately changed his form of address, for strength is the only reliable passport in the world of cultivation. Great uncle, you speak too seriously. We are all one family. Why talk of forgiveness? I waved my hand, feigning indifference. Yet the more I acted this way, the deeper Tianheng's fear grew. I was unfathomable, my joy and anger impossible to discern. He concluded that I was surely an ancient monster reincarnated, or someone who had obtained a heaven-defying inheritance. Otherwise, it would be impossible to possess such terrifying methods. Ignorance is not a crime, after all, I continued. But in the future, I hope you and the elders will remember that I do not like being disturbed by outsiders. Especially, do not even think about laying a hand on my tenants. Yes, we understand. Tran Fan nodded repeatedly, like a chicken pecking at grain. Then, young Master Fam, we shall not disturb your cultivation any further. We take our leave. Having said this, he led the group of stunned elders away, practically fleeing the scene. Tran Hao, hiding in the distance, stared in disbelief, his legs trembling violently. The clan head and the elders had actually knelt before Tran Fam. This world was truly insane. Once the Tran clansmen were driven away, a pleasant notification sound from the system rang in my ears. Host has successfully suppressed the clan leadership, securing absolute authority as the landlord. Rating: perfect. Reward: accumulated points plus 200. Comprehensive Property Upgrade Package X1. The Comprehensive Property Upgrade Package can promote all assets under the host's name by 1 major rank. Could there be such a good thing? I immediately opened the system interface. Do you wish to use the Comprehensive Property Upgrade Package? Use it immediately. Asset upgrading in progress. The simple spiritual dwelling has been upgraded to a refined cultivation cave. The desolate spirit field has been upgraded to a medium-grade spirit field. Property: 3-room refined cultivation cave, medium spiritual grade. Status: spiritual energy is so dense it has manifested as mist. Effects: significantly enhanced spiritual gathering arrays, dust removal, defense, and spiritual sense isolation. We can add functional areas such as an alchemy chamber, a forging room, and a meditation room, though each will require the consumption of accumulation points. The rating of this cultivation sanctuary is sufficient to stir the hearts of even those at the foundation establishment stage. As for the property, 2 acres of middle-grade spirit fields, ranked at the middle-grade spirit level, with rich fertile soil and a restored spirit vein, capable of nurturing all spirit herbs below the 3rd grade. Further renovations, such as high-level fields, spirit mineral veins, and spirit beast gardens, will also require the consumption of accumulation points. The verdict: this is a piece of blessed land capable of the stable production of high-grade resources. Looking at this brand new property information, I was so exhilarated that I nearly leaped from my middle-grade spirit-level rocking chair. This time, I have truly struck it rich. I can feel the concentration of spiritual energy throughout the entire courtyard surging once more. If it was merely a small stream before, it is now a mighty river, with spiritual energy thickening until it manifests as a faint white mist, drifting throughout the courtyard. Even a single breath is enough to catalyze an improvement in one's cultivation. Liu Qingyan, who had been busy in the fields, was once again so astonished by this sudden transformation that she was forced to cease her work. She felt the surging spiritual energy in the air, and the abundant vitality emanating from the earth. Her entire body went numb with shock. It has upgraded. The residents and the land have upgraded once again. And in less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with nothing but profound admiration. What manner of existence is this, landlord, sir, exactly? I was in an excellent mood. Just as I was about to investigate the newly unlocked functional rooms, Liu Qingyan approached, her face etched with worry. Landlord, sir, what is happening? Have the people from the Black Fire sect arrived? Her voice was soft, yet it carried a trace of trembling. I followed her gaze into the distance, only to see several streaks of black light racing across the sky above Qingyang City, heading directly toward us. The leading light carried a powerful savage aura that made no attempt to conceal its foundation establishment pressure. The entire city of Qingyang was blanketed by this pressure, leaving countless cultivators trembling in fear. They arrived quickly. I narrowed my eyes. Sir, they have come for me. Liu Qingyan's expression turned deathly pale. She bit her lip and retrieved all her spirit stones, and this month's rent from her storage bag. This is my entire life savings, along with this month's rent. I am grateful to you, sir, for taking me in these past few days, but I can no longer burden you. I shall leave at once. She prepared to face the enemy alone, unwilling to implicate me. Looked at the storage bag she offered, but did not accept it. Miss Liu, we have already signed a contract. I stood up, brushed the dust from my clothes, and spoke with indifference. The lease has not yet expired. You are my tenant. It is only natural for a landlord to protect those dwelling under his roof. But they have a foundation establishment cultivator, she cried. And what if he is at the foundation establishment stage? Does that make him significant? I glanced at her. In my domain, even a dragon must coil itself, and a tiger must lie dormant. If anyone wishes to lay a hand on my tenant, they must first ask if this landlord grants his consent. Scarcely had the words left my lips when several streaks of dark light descended upon the sky above my small courtyard. Leading them was a middle-aged man in black robes, his face set in a somber, gloomy expression. He looked down upon us from on high, his gaze as cold as if he were observing mere ants. Liu Qingyan, you lowly wretch, you have made us search for quite a long time. Let us see where you shall flee to today. The voice of the middle-aged man in black was as cold as ice, thick with bone-chilling, killing intent. The disciples of the Black Fire sect behind him sneered, their eyes fixed upon Liu Qingyan with cruel, mocking intent. Liu Qingyan's body trembled uncontrollably, betrayed by the deep-seated fear etched into her soul. And the aged man in black before us was none other than Elder Zhao of the Black Fire sect, a true cultivator at the early stage of foundation establishment, and one of the primary culprits behind the destruction of her sect years ago. Zhao Wuji. Liu Qingyan spat the name out, her teeth grinding in pure hatred. Haha, to still remember this old man's name, not bad. Zhao Wuji let out a cold laugh, but his attention was suddenly drawn to my small courtyard. He let out a sound of surprise, a flicker of astonishment appearing in his eyes. With his foundation establishment divine sense, he was unable to fully perceive the mysteries hidden within the courtyard below. Within the grounds, spiritual energy swirled, and the cottages and small patch of spiritual fields were veiled by a faint shimmering array, obstructing his scrutiny. This was truly interesting. A greedy smile curled the corners of Zhuji's mouth. He had not expected such a hidden paradise to exist in this godforsaken place. Liu Qingyan, you certainly know how to find a place to hide. He paid no mind to me, a mere youth with only the cultivation of the first level of qi refining, dismissing me as nothing more than a common gatekeeper who had stumbled upon this residence. In his eyes, this place was already destined to bear the name Zhao. Zhao Wuji. My affairs have nothing to do with others. Target me if you will. Liu Qingyan gathered all her courage to stand before me, desperately attempting to draw all their enmity toward herself. Zhao Wuji waved his hand dismissively, his gaze shifting toward me with the condescending air of one bestowing a great favor. Boy, this place is not bad. I have taken a liking to it. I give you 3 breaths of time. Take your people and crawl away. I am in a good mood today, so I may spare your lowly life. The disciples standing behind him erupted in laughter. Kid, did you hear that? Elder Zhao told you to get out. Being able to yield this territory to Elder Zhao's is a blessing you would not have earned in 8 lifetimes. I picked at my ear as if their clamoring was nothing more than empty noise. I looked up at Zhao Wuji, who hovered in the air, and asked earnestly, "Are you here to rent the property?" The entire space fell into an immediate, heavy silence. Zhao Wuji and his disciples stared at me as if I were a fool. Is there something wrong with this boy's head? Can he not see that we have come here to kill? Boy, you are courting death. A disciple at the 8th level of the Qi condensation stage roared and moved to strike, but Zhao Wuji raised a hand to stop him. He looked at me with newfound interest. So, your place is also available for outsiders to rent? Naturally, I nodded and began my pitch with complete seriousness. A premium cultivation cave with high-grade spirit fields, ready for immediate occupancy. I do not deceive the young or the old. If you handle the paperwork now, I will even include unlimited access to our spirit spring water. If you intend to rent, I can offer you a 20% discount. Behind me, Liu Qingyan tugged at my robes in a panic. At a time like this, how could the master of the house still be in the mood to jest? Zhao Wuji burst into loud laughter, as if he had just heard the most ridiculous joke in the world. Interesting. Truly interesting. I have traversed the cultivation world for 100 years, and this is the first time I have seen someone so devoid of fear. His laughter cut off abruptly, and his expression turned sinister. Since you refuse to drink the toast of friendship and insist on the wine of punishment, I shall see you off first, then deal with this wretched woman. With words, he pressed two fingers together to form a sword gesture, and a razor-sharp, black sword chi tore through the air, shrieking as it shot toward my face. A casual strike from a Foundation Establishment cultivator is absolutely not something a mere chi condensation practitioner could withstand. Lu Qingyan's face turned deathly pale, and she cried out in terror, "Sir, watch out!" Without a second thought, she threw herself forward, attempting to take the blow for me. I reached out and placed a hand gently on her shoulder, rendering her unable to move. Then I looked up at the encroaching black sword chi and exhaled ever so lightly. A formless gust of wind surged from my breath, and the terrifying sword chi, capable of obliterating any chi condensation cultivator, shattered in midair just like a fragile soap bubble. A sound of shattering echoed. It dissipated into the air as gently as if it had never existed at all. The laughter in the air was suddenly extinguished. The sneer on Zhao Wuqi's face stiffened. The expressions of every disciple of the Black Fire sect behind him also froze. The entire world seemed to have been pressed into a state of pause at this very moment. Everyone stared at me with wide, unblinking eyes, as if they had witnessed a scene of unfathomable, ghostly power. How could this be? Zhao Wuqi's voice was dry, filled with utter disbelief. Although he had only used 30% of his strength in that strike, it was enough to level a small hill. Yet it had been blown away by his opponent, with nothing more than a breath. What kind of divine technique was this? He did not understand. He was completely bewildered. I had already warned you. If you wish to strike in my territory, you must first ask the master of this house. I clapped at my hands, maintaining a languid expression. Now, I shall give you two choices. First, take your people and get out immediately, and I may consider as though nothing has happened. Second, I paused, the corners of my mouth curling into a cold, chilling smile. I will cripple all of you, and have your families bring spirit stones to ransom you back. Personally, I would highly recommend the second option. After all, my courtyard has just been renovated, and the maintenance fees are quite expensive. Arrogant. For a moment of shock, Zhao Wuqi's face turned livid, and killing intent surged within his eyes. He assumed that the scene just witnessed was because I had utilized an incredibly powerful defensive artifact. Brat, I admit I underestimated you. Being able to block my strike means you must surely possess a supreme treasure. Not only will this cave abode belong to me, but the treasures upon your person shall also be mine. Zhao Wuqi held back no longer, his Foundation Establishment early-stage aura erupting completely. A black flame surged from his body, enveloping his entire form. This was the Black Fire sect's unique cultivation technique, the Black Fiend Demonic Fire, the Black Dragon form. Zhao roared, his hands forming seals. The black flames upon him instantly coalesced into a ferocious fire dragon, several zhang in length, roaring as it charged toward my courtyard. The fire dragon passed, the very air was scorched and warped, emitting a sharp, sizzling sound. He had unleashed his full strength in this strike. He intended to reduce both me and this courtyard to ashes. Lu Qingyan's face was drained of all color, and she closed her eyes in despair. Facing such a terrifying attack, she could not fathom a single possibility of survival. Yet I remained standing still, not even raising an eyelid. The very moment the black fire dragon was about to strike the defensive formation of my courtyard, I lifted my foot and brought it down gently upon the earth. A dull thud resonated, sounding like the rhythmic heartbeat of the earth itself. In the next instant, the entire world shifted. The winds and clouds changed color, centered entirely upon my small courtyard. Within a radius of 100 meters, all the spiritual chi of heaven and earth erupted into a frenzy. As if summoned by an emperor, the energy surged from all directions, converging violently beneath my feet. A brilliant earth-yellow light erupted from the ground, shooting straight into the heavens. Azure radiance bloomed from the spirit fields, while a milky white luminescence rose from within the house. These three streams of light intertwined, forming an immense, peerless barrier. It solidified, manifesting as a tangible shell that enveloped both the courtyard and the spirit fields. The black fire dragon, possessing such overwhelming might, collided headlong into this tricolored barrier. There was no earth-shattering explosion, nor a cataclysmic collision. It was as if the black fire dragon had struck a mass of soft silk. Its colossal form was rapidly enveloped by a gentle yet irresistible force, compressed and dissolved into nothingness. In the span of a single breath, the black fire dragon, a manifestation of a full-powered strike from a Foundation Establishment cultivator, had completely vanished, leaving not even a wisp of smoke behind. It was as if the world itself had erased it with an eraser. Zhao Wuji, as if struck by a severe blow, suddenly spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His body, like a kite with a severed string, plummeted from the sky, landing heavily in the muddy patch outside the courtyard gate. The black demonic fire that had once cloaked him flickered and died out. His aura weakened to the point of extinction, his face a mask of terror as he stared fixedly at the tricolored barrier, his eyes filled with a bewilderment and dread 100 times greater than before. A domain? Is this the power of a domain? Who exactly are you? He could not comprehend how the power of a domain, something only a golden core ancestor could possess, could appear here, and to manifest from a youth who appeared to be merely at the 7th level of chi refining. This defied common sense. It overturned the very laws of the cultivation world. I did not answer his question. I merely raised my hand slowly toward the disciples of the Black Fire sect, who remained frozen in fear in the sky above. Descend. All of you. A massive invisible hand manifested in midair, snatching the disciples of the Black Fire sect as easily as one would grab young chicks. They were all plucked from the sky and tossed beside Zhao Wuji, piling up into a heap of humanity. Having done so, I dusted off my hands and approached them, looking down from above. Now, we can discuss the matter of compensation. A gentle smile blossomed on my face. Yet in the eyes of Zhao Wuji and his followers, this expression was more terrifying than any demon. Within my territory, my rules prevail. Firstly, the tenants are like gods. Do not strike them, do not berate them, and certainly do not threaten them. Secondly, do not cause a disturbance within my domain, for it interrupts my slumber. Thirdly, and most importantly, I paused, speaking every word with deliberate weight. The landlord is always right. Since you have violated all of these rules, the consequences are severe. I held up 3 fingers, 30,000 low-grade spirit stones, or items of equivalent value. Pay up, and you may depart. Otherwise, stay and tend to the fields for me. You shall leave only once your debt is settled in full. These are the rules. Do you understand? 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Zhao Wuji, lying prostrate on the ground, nearly vomited another mouthful of blood upon hearing this figure. 30,000, did he hear correctly? Even if he were to sell his entire Black Fire sect, he could not gather that many liquid spirit stones in an instant. This youth was not demanding money, he was demanding his life. Is that too little? I raised an eyebrow, feigning as if I were about to add another finger. It is not entirely non-negotiable. Perhaps 40,000 is a more fitting sum. Terrified out of his wits, Zhao Wuji waved his hands frantically, causing his injuries to flare up in agonizing pain, his face twisting into a grimace. Me realized now that this youth, who appeared so harmless at first glance, was in truth a demon in human skin, a bottomless abyss of greed, a predatory merchant of the highest order. Zhao Wuji struggled to his feet, assuming an incredibly humble posture, and even changed his form of address to senior. 30,000 spirit stones. Junior, this junior truly cannot produce such a sum. My entire fortune combined amounts to only 20,000 spirit stones, along with a few medicinal pills and magical artifacts. Trembling, he took off his storage ring and offered it respectfully, pleading for my consideration. I accepted it and swept my divine sense through the contents. True to his words, while the spirit stones were scarce, there was no shortage of miscellaneous items. Several vials of elixirs for healing and enhancing one's cultivation were present, though they were of average quality, along with 2 low-grade spirit artifacts. A flying sword and a black seal could be considered passable. That was all there was. I curled my lip, my face etched with disdain. For a foundation establishment cultivator, this is all the wealth you possess? Have you no shame? Just how impoverished is your Black Flame sect? Zhao Wuji's face turned as purple as a pig's liver. He felt humiliated to the core, yet he dared not utter a single word of rebuttal. Impoverished. As an elder of the Black Flame sect, he was a formidable figure in the outside world. When had he ever been humiliated like this in public? But what was he now? He was nothing but a fish on a chopping block. He had no choice but to endure. Senior, the storage rings of my fellow disciples are all here. Please, have a look. A quick-witted disciple beside him hurriedly gathered the storage rings from the others and presented them collectively. I cast a glance, feeling even more disappointed. A bunch of paupers. Combined, they do not even possess 5,000 spirit stones. It appears you are unable to pay the compensation. I stroked my chin, revealing a smile that sent shivers down the spines of Zhao Wuji and his companions. Since that is the case, we have no choice but to proceed with the second option. Ding. The system has detected that the debtor lacks the capacity to repay the debt. Do you wish to create a labor reform contract? Create, I thought to myself. The very next second, several contracts shimmering with a strange dark light appeared in my hand. The style of this contract was far more ominous than the previous rental agreement. What is this? Zhao Wuji stared at the black document, an icy sensation rising within his heart. A labor reform contract, I said, waving the parchment in my hand, smiling like a devil. To put it simply, the 30,000 spirit stones you owe me can be repaid through manual labor. Come here, sign your names and press your blood onto it. I tossed the contracts before them. Zhao Ji picked one up, only to see it written, Debtor, Zhao Ji. Creditor, Chen Fan, debt amount, 30,000 low-grade spirit stones. Method of repayment, debt repayment labor. Laboring in the spirit fields under the creditor's name, each day shall deduct 10 low-grade spirit stones from the debt. The supplementary terms of labor mandate, total obedience to the creditor, and all designated overseers. Resistance is forbidden. Desertion is strictly prohibited. Sloth will not be tolerated. Failure to comply shall result in the agony of 10,000 arrows piercing the heart. Upon the contract's activation, a portion of the debtor's cultivation will be sealed, leaving only enough physical strength for manual labor. Zhao Wuji read the 10,000 arrows piercing the heart seal clause, and his vision darkened. He nearly collapsed on the spot. This was no labor contract. It was clearly a deed of indenture and of the most brutal variety. Deducting 10 spirit stones per day. To pay off 30,000 spirit stones would take 3,000 days, nearly 10 years. To force a foundation establishment expert like him to toil as a peasant for 10 years was a fate worse than death. Senior Chen, this is absolutely unacceptable. Zhao Wuji pleaded with a desperate ashen expression. I can send a communication talisman to my sect, and they will send the ransom. I beg of you, do not make me sign this. Oh? My eyes lit up. You should have said so earlier. I am a very reasonable man. I will rescind the contract. Zhao Wuji and his men sighed in relief. But I continued, however, the terms must change. For cross-sect transactions, the pricing must be adjusted. After all, this involves intersect affairs. Processing fees, surveillance costs, and compensation for my emotional distress. All of these must be factored in. I tapped my fingers, calculating with a grave and serious expression. How about this? I will offer you a flat rate of 50,000 low-grade spirit stones, or treasures of equivalent value. If you are even 1 stone short, you stay here to farm. 50,000? Zhao Wuji felt his heart bleeding. The price had nearly doubled. This little demon Long Yi was truly treacherous. Glaring at the black contract that shimmered with an ominous light in my hand, he knew he had no choice. Fine, 50,000 it is. He gritted his teeth, forcing the words out from between them. I will send word to my sect immediately. He retrieved a jade communication. Injecting his spiritual energy, he detailed the events that had transpired and laid out his demands for a ransom, articulating every word in an uncompromising tone before dispatching the message. Upon completing this task, he felt as if his very essence had been drained, collapsing onto the ground in exhaustion. I nodded with satisfaction, then turned my gaze to Liu Qingyan, who had remained by my side, witnessing the entire ordeal from start to finish. Her small mouth was slightly agape, and her beautiful eyes were filled with astonishment, reverence, and a hint of admiration. She realized that this mysterious master of the residence not only possessed unfathomable power, but his methods for resolving such a crisis were truly unprecedented, unheard of in all her years. Without shedding a single drop of blood, he had forced a foundation establishment cultivator and his entire sect to obediently prepare a ransom of 50,000 spirit stones. What kind of peerless dominance and calm composure was this? I turned my head and offered Miss Liu a gentle smile. It seems your enemies will be unable to trouble you for the time being. They are now my employees, I remarked, gesturing toward the group led by Zhao Wuji, who lay sprawled on the ground. Liu Qingyan looked at her mortal enemies, who were now lying at her feet like dying dogs, and felt a complex torrent of emotions. The joy of having her great vengeance finally satisfied, and an immense sense of gratitude toward me intertwined within her heart. She bowed deeply toward me. Your great kindness, sir. Qingyan will never forget as long as I live. It was a trifling matter. I waved my hand dismissively and reclined back into my rocking chair. Rest assured and stay as long as you like. Just remember to pay the rent on time. Meanwhile, far away in the Black Fire sect, within the master's grand hall, an old man, cloaked in black, his face twisted in rage, suddenly crushed the jade transmission slip in his hand. This is outrageous. To dare extort my Black Fire sect and hold our elder captive. Do they truly mistake my Black Fire sect for a soft persimmon that can be kneaded at will? A terrifying pressure erupted from his body, causing the entire hall to tremble and hum with the vibration of his fury. Someone, come here. Sect Master. A disciple rushed in hastily. Convey my orders. Have Elder Ma lead the Black Fire banner and journey to Qingyang City. The black-robed sect master's voice was cold enough to pierce the bone. I will see what kind of sacred being this is, to lay hands on the people of my Black Fire sect. Tell Elder Ma there is no need to bring spirit stones. He is to bring me the head of that madman instead. During the days spent awaiting the Black Fire sect's ransom payment, I discovered that I had fallen into a new predicament. Although Zhao Wuji and his disciples had been suppressed by me, however, they are cultivators after all. I cannot have them lying prostrate at my courtyard entrance all day. It ruins the aesthetic, and more importantly, it disturbs my tranquility. Since I have nothing better to do, everyone, rise and get to work. I rose from my rocking chair and issued my orders to those pathetic wretches. The group led by Zhao Wuji started in shock. Seething with suppressed rage yet terrified to speak, they scrambled to their feet. Senior, what task would you have us perform? Zhao Wuji asked with utmost caution. I pointed toward the 5 acres of spirit fields, now teeming with vitality. Those fields require weeding and watering. Surely you are capable of such basic tasks. What? You expect us to engage in farming? A disciple of the Black Fire sect cried out in disbelief. I narrowed my eyes. Do you have an objection? No, no objections. The disciple trembled in fear, quickly clamping his mouth shut. Zhao Wuji's complexion turned ghastly, as if he had just consumed filth. He mused on his status as a 7th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator and an elder of the Black Fire sect. Everywhere he went, he was met with reverence and fear, yet here he was, reduced to the level of a common peasant. It was a grave humiliation, but he dared not resist. He could only lead his dejected disciples into the spirit fields with lowered heads. Liu Qingyan witnessed this scene with a complex gaze, silently retrieving several hose and water buckets to place before them. Zhao Wuji stared at the mud-caked hoe, his hands visibly trembling. In his life, he had wielded flying swords, touched powerful artifacts, and caressed the waists of women, but he had never once touched a farming tool. Under my gaze, as cold and inevitable as death itself, he finally gripped the hoe and began the first tilling of his life. However, the moment his hoe struck the earth, ding! A special event has been detected. A 7th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator is laboring within the host's spirit fields. Activating hidden mechanism, labor for essence refinement. The wasted spiritual energy and the sweat dripping from the intense emotional distress of a 7th-level Foundation Establishment cultivator will be absorbed by the soil and converted into the purest form of soil fertility. Absorbed and converted into the purest essence. Host points, blight 5. I was stunned. Is there truly such a favorable stroke of luck? I immediately opened the system interface and discovered that the fertility data for the mid-grade spirit fields had indeed ticked upward. Furthermore, I had even been rewarded with host points. My eyes lit up instantly. This isn't just forcing them into labor reform. This is effectively hiring a batch of high-efficiency fertilizer machines. A single Foundation Establishment cultivator can accomplish more in a day than Liu Qingyan could manage after an entire month of arduous toil. My gaze toward Zhao Wuji shifted instantly. He was no longer merely a prisoner, but a glittering treasure in my eyes. Old Zhao, I cleared my throat, adopting a significantly gentler tone. Do well, for I am counting on you. The future of this spirit field is now in your hands. Upon hearing this sudden encouragement, Wuji's entire body trembled. He found it far more unsettling than if I had beaten him half to death. Unaware of my true intentions, he perceived this only as a deeper form of humiliation. Gritting his teeth, he channeled his resentment into his labor and swung his hoe down with ferocious intensity, sending clods of soil flying into the air. Ding. Spirit field fertility increased by 0.2. Host points increased by 1. Good heavens, is the power of resentment truly this potent? Watching Zhao Wuji and his disciples drenched in sweat as they labored in the field, I could not help but let a smirk tug at the corners of my lips. This is excellent. My real estate empire has just unlocked a new business venture. Beyond simple land leasing, I can now engage in agricultural processing and emotional resource harvesting. Standing nearby, Liu Qingyan could not suppress a smile as she watched. Seeing the enemies who had once tormented her now covered in filth and toiling away in the fields, the lingering grievances she had harbored for years began to dissipate. She approached my side and spoke in a soft voice. Sir, allow me to guide them for a moment. If they continue to dig so recklessly, they will damage the roots of the spirit herbs. Proceed. I nodded. From now on, you are the chief steward here. They are all under your command. Should anyone refuse to listen, report them directly to me. Liu Qingyan acknowledged the order and stepped toward the spirit field. As she rose before Zhao Wuji, she pointed to a spirit herb beneath his feet and spoke coldly. Elder Zhao, you are standing on a blood coagulation herb. Move aside, if you please. Zhao Wuji's body stiffened as he looked up at the woman who had once been driven to the brink of death by his pursuit, only for her to now stand as his direct superior. The sheer disparity in their status and the overwhelming sense of shame caused his aged face to flush a deep, bruised purple. Zhao Wuji is experiencing intense feelings of humiliation. Spirit field fertility increased by 0.5. Administrative points increased by 2. Reclining on my rock. How magnificent. This is truly a perfect ecosystem. Just as I was enjoying this quiet and productive afternoon, above the skies of Qingyang City, a terrifying pressure, many times stronger than Zhao Wuji's, suddenly descended. That pressure draped over the city like a black cloud, filled with cruelty and murderous intent. Countless cultivators within the city trembled beneath this force, their faces pale with terror. It is a Foundation Establishment mid-stage cultivator. Heavens, another great figure has arrived in our Qingyang city. It seems the direction of this pressure is the Chen family estate in the east of the city. Trantian Hung, having just recovered his senses, felt this aura, and his face immediately drained of all color. The Black Fire sect had sent someone else, and this individual was even more formidable than Zhao Wuji. He immediately summoned all the elders of the clan. Everyone is forbidden from leaving the clan's grand formation. Seal the gates immediately. No matter what happens outside today, it has nothing to do with our Chen family. He had been so frightened by me that he now wished only to retreat into his shell like a turtle. Meanwhile, in my small courtyard, Zhao Wuji was diligently laboring in the fields when he sensed this familiar and powerful aura. His face instantly lit up with a crazed joy. It is Senior Brother Ma. Senior Brother Ma has arrived. He tossed aside his hoe, shouting excitedly toward the sky. Senior Brother Ma, save me, I am here. He seemed convinced he had been rescued, already envisioning me being hacked into 10,000 pieces. A streak of black light like a falling meteor cut through the sky. It hovered precisely above my small courtyard. The visitor was a thin, gaunt old man with a hooked nose and gloomy, sinister eyes. He wore an identical black robe, but in his hand he held a black banner fluttering in the wind. Carved into the banner were countless screaming ghost faces, emitting resentment and an ominous, suffocating aura. A mid-grade spirit tool, the Black Fire Banner. He was Ma Yuan, the punishment elder of the Black Fire sect, a cultivator at the mid-stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Upon his arrival, Ma Yuan's eyes locked onto the scene within the courtyard when he saw his junior brother Zhao Wuji, clad in tattered rags, covered in mud and swinging a hoe in the fields. His pupils contracted violently. Translator note, omitted due to corrupted source text. You dare to humiliate an elder of my Black Fire sect in such a manner. Ma Yuan's voice was like a cold wind blowing from the 9 hells. He stared at me, reclining on my rocking chair, his intent to kill radiating outward. Boy, you are, Chen Fan. I let out a yawn, sat up from the rocking chair, stretched my limbs, and replied, that is me. I looked up at him, then glanced at the empty seat behind him, narrowing my eyes. You have arrived. But where is the ransom I told you to bring? Why have you come alone? The ransom. Upon hearing those 2 words, Ma Yuan acted as if he had heard the greatest joke in the world. A cruel and wicked sneer appeared on his gloomy face. Boy, have you not yet woken from your delusions? You have detained an elder of my sect, and yet you dare to demand a ransom from me? Today, not only will I refuse to give you a single spirit stone, but I shall also use your soul to sacrifice to this Black Fire Banner of mine. The black banner in his hand stirred without a breeze. Countless ghostly faces upon the fabric seemed to come to life, emitting shrill, mournful screams, causing anyone who heard them to feel as though their very soul were shattering. Zhou Wuji, standing in the field, saw the Black Fire Banner in Ma Yuan's hand, and the joy on his face grew even more intense. Senior Brother Ma, use the Black Fire Banner to kill him and avenge me. He shrieked in a frenzy. The Black Fire Banner is one of the sect-protecting Dharma treasures of the Black Fire sect, possessing immense power. It is specialized in corrupting other Dharma treasures and devouring the souls of others, making it exceptionally malicious. Ma Yuan clutched the Black Fire Banner, unleashing his Foundation establishment middle-stage aura without reservation. It was more than a notch stronger than that of Zhao Wuji. He was confident that, with the empowerment of the Black Fire Banner, even if his opponent were in the late stage of Foundation establishment, he would still be capable of a fight. Boy, it is your honor to die under my Black Fire Banner. Ma Yuan let out a thunderous shout and violently waved the banner in his hand. System processing timestamp 28. Calculation is greater than 0.432 seconds. An immense volume of black malevolent energy, visible to the naked eye, surged from the banner, coalescing into a colossal ghostly skull in the air. The eyes of the ghostly skull burned with a somber green flame as it opened its maw, white as a blood basin, and charged toward my courtyard, accompanied by a stench of rot and resentment, snapping its jaws downward. The momentum of this single strike was 10 times greater than the fire dragon previously summoned by Zhao Wuji. The entire eastern district of Qingyang City was engulfed by this gloomy, sinister, ghostly aura. The sky darkened, and the beautiful face of Liu Qingyan turned pale. The aura, emanating from the Black Fire Banner, made her soul tremble. It was a primal fear, born from the deepest instinct of survival. Yet, I maintained a calm expression, even feeling a slight urge to laugh. Is this truly all you have? I shook my head, a trace of disappointment appearing on my face. I had assumed the Black Fire sect could produce something substantial, yet it turns out to be nothing more than these petty amateur tricks. To attempt to command fire and spirits in my presence, you have truly come to the wrong place. I slowly raised my hand and lightly flicked a finger toward the massive ghostly skull hovering in the sky. The crisp sound was seemingly insignificant amidst the wailing of ghosts and the howling of spirits. But the very next second, the entire world fell silent. The courtyard, which I had upgraded into a high-grade immortal cave, suddenly erupted with brilliant light. It was no longer the tricolored glow from before, but a pure silvery white radiance as pristine as glazed jade. This light bloomed like a rising sun, instantly dispelling all darkness and gloom. The moment the fierce and malevolent giant ghostly skull made contact with this silvery light, it was like snow meeting the scorching sun. A shriek of absolute agony erupted from the skull, and at a speed visible to the naked eye, it was disintegrated and purified by the pristine light. Finally, it turned into a wisp of green smoke and vanished completely from the heavens and earth. Sunlight once again bathed the land, as if the scene of heaven-shaking, earth-shattering destruction had never occurred in the skies above. Ma Yuan looked as if he had been struck by lightning, his body trembling violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood, his complexion instantly turning as pale as paper. The Black Fire Banner was tethered to his very soul, the thousands of vengeful spirits within being purified in a single strike, caused him to suffer a severe backlash. No, this is impossible. He stared intently at the black fire banner in his hand, only to find that the once jet-black flag had become dull and faded. The ghost faces etched upon it had vanished by more than half, its spirituality almost entirely lost, rendering it little more than a piece of trash. He looked up at me with eyes reflecting the terror of seeing a ghost, then shifted his gaze to the courtyard beneath my feet, which was still radiating a faint, silvery white light. What kind of formation is this? His voice was hoarse, filled with immense fear and utter astonishment. He had roamed the cultivation world for hundreds of years, yet had never witnessed a formation so overbearing and sacred. This is a formation? I shook my head and chuckled. No, you have misunderstood. This is merely the security system for my humble abode. It is a newly upgraded purification mode, specifically designed to suppress vile, heretical scum like you. I looked at him and offered a gentle smile. How is the effect? Refreshed, as if your very soul has been elevated? Ma Yuan's entire body trembled. In my smile, he saw something far more terrifying than a 10,000-foot abyss. Run. He had to run immediately. This youth was not human at all, he was a monster. This was the only thought remaining in Ma Yuan's mind. Without a moment's hesitation, he turned and transformed into a streak of light to flee. Hey, don't leave just yet. My voice rang out in his ears like that of a demon. You haven't paid the fee yet. How can you simply walk away? To come to my territory and leave behind nothing. That is hardly proper etiquette. I pointed lightly toward him as he fled. A single word spoken like an imperial decree. Ma Yuan, who was preparing to escape in a flash of light, suddenly found his entire body frozen in midair, like an insect trapped within amber, stuck in his fleeing posture, unable to move an inch. His expression solidified in that moment of sheer terror and despair. In the field, Zhao Wuji, who had been full of joy moments ago, was now completely stunned. He looked at Ma Yuan, frozen in the sky, then at the spiritually dimming flag, and finally at me, resting leisurely on my rocking chair. The last glimmer of hope in his heart shattered completely. It is over this time. We have kicked an iron plate. No, this is not just an iron plate. This is an ancient sacred mountain forged from divine metal and immortal steel, etched with billions of killing formations. At that very moment, Ma Yuan realized with horror that an irresistible force was pulling him from the courtyard. His body moved against his will, slowly descending toward the spiritual field he had so arrogantly despised just moments before. I don't want this. He let out the final desperate cry of his life. A dull thud. Ma Yuan, the execution elder of the Black Fire sect and a middle-stage foundation establishment cultivator, landed in a perfect headstand, head buried in the dirt, legs pointed toward the sky, and embedded himself precisely into the soft soil of the spiritual field. Only his two legs remained, twitching slightly above the surface. New fertilizer supply detected. Quality is exceptional. Spirit soil fertility increased by 2 points. Management points increased by 5. I nodded in satisfaction. With the labor force now sufficient, it is time to consider the second phase of land reclamation. I turned toward Zhao Wuji, who was utterly stunned, and asked in a gentle, approachable tone. Old Zhao, how much would you say this senior brother Ma of yours is worth? Zhao Wuji's lips trembled. He was unable to utter a single word. How much was he worth? How could he possibly know the price? All he knew now was that the Black Fire sect was likely going to suffer a devastating loss. 1 million spirit stones had been the previous price, and that was just for someone worth 50,000. Now, Ma Yuan, who was far stronger and carried a sect treasure, had fallen. He dared not think any further. Observing him on the verge of losing control of his composure, I felt no need to press further, and turned to look at Lu Qingyan. Miss Lu, it appears your enemies will not be returning anytime soon. Only then did Lu Qingyan recover from the profound shock. She glanced at the legs still twitching in the soil, then looked back at me, her beautiful eyes filled with astonishment. She walked up to me and bowed deeply, her voice filled with a resolve I had not seen before. Sir Qingyan has a favor to ask. Speak. Qingyan wishes to tend to this patch of spirit soil for you for the rest of her life. I only wish to serve by your side and remain here. She had been completely captivated by my strength and the mystical nature of this land. She realized that staying here was safer and held more potential than any renowned sect. This place was the supreme holy ground she had always dreamed of. For a lifetime. I offered a faint smile. That will not be necessary. Our relationship is strictly that of landlord and tenant. As long as you pay the rent on time, you may stay as long as you wish. However, I changed my tone, fixing my gaze upon her, as I was quite curious about something. Lu Qingyan felt a surge of tension, yet spoke respectfully. Please ask, sir. Qingyan will answer whatever she knows. That Ma Yuan seemed to come for you, but from what I overheard, it seemed that aside from enmity, there was something else between you two. I feigned a casual inquiry. Ma Yuan had previously mentioned that Lu Qingyan possessed a map. This piqued my interest. Anything capable of shaking an entire sect to its core, to the point where they would not hesitate to dispatch 2 foundation establishment elders to hunt her down, was surely something far greater than mere petty vengeance. Me. Lu Qingyan's slender frame trembled slightly, and her expression grew complex. She fell silent for a moment, as if struggling with a difficult decision. Finally, she took a deep breath, having seemingly steeled her resolve. From her storage ring, she carefully withdrew a piece of weathered animal hide, crafted from the skin of an unknown beast. The fragment was the size of a palm with jagged, uneven edges. Drawn upon it with an ancient cinnabar were intricate mountain ranges, rivers, and indecipherable runes. An aura of ancient desolation radiated from the hide. "Sir, this is the very root of my sect's destruction." Lu Qingyan presented the hide to me with both hands. "This object is known as the Zhuanshan treasure map. It is said that the complete map leads to a secret cavernous realm left behind by an ancient cultivator. My sect, Yanhe Valley, brought disaster upon ourselves simply by coming into possession of this fragment. The Black Fire sect's only goal is to seize it from me." I took the fragment, feeling a strange warmth from its extraordinary material. The system prompted. Item discovered. Zhuanshan treasure map fragment. Item description. A map fragment recording the location of the ancient immortal Zhuanshan Xianjun's dwelling, infused with a trace of the law of space. Collect all 9 fragments to forge the key to the Zhuanshan secret realm. System suggestion. This item possesses immense strategic value for the expansion of the host's real estate empire. Strategic value? My eyes lit up. Anything appraised as such by the system was undoubtedly a priceless treasure, an ancient secret realm. I stroked the hide deep in thought. Yes, Lu Qingyan said bitterly. It is whispered that Xuanxian Xianjun was a peerless master of the ancient era, who possessed profound mastery over formations in the Tao of space. The dwelling he left behind contains not only countless Dharma treasures and elixirs, but potentially his inheritance of the great Tao of space. This map was purchased with the lives of countless predecessors from my sect. I have kept it on my person at all times, yet somehow the Black Fire sect still uncovered the trail. She gazed at me, her eyes filled with absolute sincerity. Qingyan has nothing with which to repay you, and this item is a curse to me, not a blessing. Today I offer it to you, sir, hoping only that you might take me under your protection. She intended to use this precious treasure as leverage to secure long-term residence. I looked at her and smiled. This young lady was truly sharp. She realized that holding this object was akin to grasping a burning coal. It was better to entrust it to a powerful figure like myself, allowing her to preserve her life while simultaneously earning my favor. I, Chen Fan, am the most principled landlord in the cultivation world, and I abide by my own code. I returned the map to her. Miss Lu, you are mistaken. Lu Qingyan stood stunned, looking at me with confusion. First, I said, raising one finger, you are my tenant. Protecting you is a matter of contractual spirit, a landlord's responsibility, entirely unrelated to whether you possess this map or not. I raised a second finger. This map is your personal property. As your landlord, I have no right to seize any personal effects belonging to a tenant. That is my professional ethic. Lu Qingyan was utterly dumbfounded. She had never expected me to refuse. This was a map related to an ancient inheritance. Not to mention Foundation establishment cultivators. Even Golden Core or nascent soul monsters would fight tooth and nail for it if they knew of its existence. Yet I, sir, remained unmoved. Then what does sir mean? What I mean is, I curled the corners of my lips into my signature gentle smile. You do not have to gift this map to me, but you can lease it to me. Lease? Lu Qingyan felt as though her mind could not keep up. Could even a map be leased? Indeed, I said, snapping my fingers. Leave this map in my keeping, and in return I shall resolve all troubles arising from it on your behalf, and waive 5 spirit stones from your monthly rent. What say you? Furthermore, should I discover any benefits through this map in the future, I may share a portion with you. Of course, you may also choose to take it and leave right now. I will not stop you. I placed the power of choice back into her hands. Lu Qingyan looked at me. Seeing the clarity and sincerity in my eyes, she knew I was not joking. This mysterious and formidable landlord truly acted only according to his own set of seemingly absurd, yet profoundly fair rules. The last remnants of anxiety in her heart vanished like smoke in the wind. She smiled. A smile that was the most radiant and heartfelt she had worn since arriving here. Agreed, she nodded firmly, sliding the map back toward me once more. Sir, I shall lease this map to you. Ding! Congratulations to the host for reaching a special rental agreement with the tenant, Liu Xingyan. The host has obtained the rights to use and maintain the fragment of the Xuanshan treasure map indefinitely. Agreement finalized. Rewarded with 500 real estate points. Unlocking new system function. Asset management. Asset management. My heart stirred, and I immediately opened the system interface. And I saw that beside the real estate management tab, a brand new option had appeared. Asset beta version. Function tutorial. The host may manage the precious items of tenants, such as Dharma treasures, medicinal pills, heaven-earth treasures, maps, and more. During the management period, the host can gain partial usage rights and gradually analyze the item's information to receive additional rewards. The advantage is absolute security. It can prevent any form of divination or probing from outsiders. Simultaneously, the system will provide the host with a small amount of real estate points daily, based on the value of the managed item. Truly remarkable. Is this not simply a vault equipped with an analysis engine provided by the system? I looked at the fragment of the Zhuanqian treasure map in my hand and immediately selected Manage. Ding. The fragment of the Zhuanqian treasure map has been saved to the Asset Management Vault. It will provide 10 real estate points to the host every day. Analyzing item. Current progress. Point 1 estimated time to complete analysis is 30 days. 10 points a day is higher than the output of all my houses and land combined. This time, I have not lost out. With the matter of the map resolved, my gaze fell upon the 2 new laborers. Zhao Wuji was already terrified to the point of numbness, trembling as he pulled Ma Yuan, who was still embedded in the soil, from the ground. Ma Yuan's breathing was faint at this moment, his complexion deathly pale. After being immobilized by me and drained of significant spiritual energy by the spirit field formation, his entire body was utterly exhausted. The 2 of you, I cleared my throat. Seeing that your sect lacks the sincerity to pay the ransom and has even sent men to commit sabotage, the ransom has now doubled. It is 100,000 low-grade spirit stones per person. Once the spirit stones are delivered, you may leave. Before that pointed to the vast expanse of spirit fields. That place shall be your new home. Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan looked at each other, both seeing nothing but bottomless despair and sorrow in each other's eyes. 2 Foundation establishment cultivators forced to become mere farmhands. If this news were to spread, they and the Black Fire sect would become the laughingstock of the entire cultivation world. However, they dared not resist and could only resign themselves to their fate. With these 2 high-level Foundation establishment fertilizer machines, the fertility of my spirit fields began to surge at a rate visible to the naked eye. Within a single day, the spirit fields, which were only at the early stage of the middle grade, showed signs of breaking through to the high stage. Furthermore, the real estate points I had accumulated had already exceeded the 1,000 mark. It was time to proceed to the next step of expanding my enterprise. I opened the upgrade options for the refined cave dwelling. Available functions to add. First, an introductory alchemy room, costing 800 real estate points. Second, an introductory artifact refining room, costing 800 real estate points. Third, an introductory meditation room, costing 500 real estate points. Without the slightest hesitation, I chose the alchemy room. After all, medicinal pills are the hard currency of the cultivation world, and they are the most effective way to attract high-quality tenants. Ding. Confirmed consumption of 800 real estate points. Constructing the introductory alchemy room. Confirm. Following my will, on the west side of the courtyard, upon a plot of land that was previously barren, a light flickered, and the earth and stones churned, as a simple, elegant stone cottage constructed entirely of bluestone rose from the ground. On the roof sat a chimney designed specifically for venting smoke and alchemical toxins. The design was exceptionally professional. Ding. The introductory alchemy room is complete. It features an integrated low-grade earthly vein spirit fire, capable of increasing the success rate of concocting 3rd-grade pills and below by 30%. It also possesses a certain probability of enhancing the quality of the medicinal pills. It is no exaggeration to say that for any alchemist, this is the perfect workspace they have always dreamed of. A 30% increase in the success rate, plus the ability to improve the quality of the pills. My eyes lit up. If I were to rent this out, wouldn't the rental income be enough to keep me busy? Everything was prepared. All that remained was to recruit a master alchemist. I chuckled and produced the recruitment talisman, an item I had tested numerous times, though this time my requirements were far more specific. System, find me an alchemist within a 100-mile radius who possesses the greatest natural talent, yet remains in the direst poverty. What I sought was a hidden talent. A man down on his luck, desperately yearning for a foundation to prove his worth. Once such an individual is bound to my cause, the future benefits will be absolute and limitless. Command acknowledged. Searching for the most suitable potential candidate, the talisman in my hand transformed into a streak of golden light vanishing toward the horizon. This time, the golden light did not fly toward the wilderness, but deep into Qingyang City, Southern District, Qingyang City. Tucked away in a crumbling alleyway stood an old man with disheveled snow-white hair. Clad in tattered robes and reeking of medicinal dregs and cheap liquor, he was being shoved violently out of a pharmacy by several attendants wearing the livery of the Baicao Hall. Get out of here, you old swindler. You come to our Baicao Hall every day demanding medicine on credit, yet everything you refine is nothing but a pile of waste pills. And you dare call yourself a master alchemist? Get lost, or we will break your legs. The old man stumbled and crashed to the ground. The medicinal herbs he had struggled to afford were scattered into the dirt. As he met the scornful gazes of the attendants, a flicker of indignation and lingering bitterness ignited in his cloudy, aged eyes. What do you understand of my Tao of alchemy? You are nothing but common, vulgar mortals. How could you possibly comprehend my art? When I finally succeed in refining the yin-yang reversal pill, I shall force you all to see me in a new light. Ha, the yin-yang reversal pill? I have never even heard of such a thing. The attendants burst into mocking laughter. "You old drunkard. Are you still dreaming while wide awake?" The old man struggled to stand, carefully gathering the fallen medicinal herbs from the ground. With his back hunched, he retreated slowly into the depths of the alley. His name was Gu Chen, once an intersect disciple of a prominent alchemy sect. Possessing talent that surpassed his peers, he became obsessed with the ancient alchemy formulas found in forbidden texts. By refusing to tread the orthodox path, he was branded a heretic by his sect, and ultimately expelled. After drifting to Qingyang City, he lived in abject poverty. His cultivation stalled at the peak of the 9th level of qi refining, unable to break through. He lacked the necessary resources, a proper alchemy furnace, and a stable source of earth fire. His entire life's work remained poured into the study of those seemingly impossible, unrealized alchemy formulas. Just as he had lost all heart, preparing to find a place to drink his final cup of wine and bring an end to his remaining days. A streak of golden light descended from the heavens, landing directly before him and manifesting into a notice that emanated a faint spiritual glow. "Seeking a sincere alchemist to rent my facilities. Currently, a premier pill refinement chamber is vacant, equipped with an integrated earth vein spirit fire, capable of significantly increasing the refinement success rate and the quality of the elixirs. Rental terms are negotiable and payment in elixirs is accepted. Address: the eastern end of the city. Those with destiny shall find their way. The landlord." Master Gu Chen stared at the notice, first in bewilderment, then with a disdainful snort. What kind of low-level swindling trick is this? A premier pill refinement chamber in all of Qingyang City. Even the Chen family's refining room is at best mediocre. Where would such a superior facility possibly come from? Just as he moved to discard the paper, he suddenly caught a faint scent emanating from it. He leaned in close, inhaling deeply, and his eyes immediately widened. An aura of earth vein spirit fire, and so exceptionally pure at that. The claim of superior quality was genuine. Gu Chen's breath instantly grew ragged. His heart, long since turned to ash, began to thud wildly against his ribs. He clutched the notice as if it were a life-saving straw, and bolted frantically toward the eastern edge of the city. Gu Chen stumbled to the eastern edge, catching sight of a small dwelling that stood apart from the rest. The courtyard was shrouded in a faint, platinum-colored aura, where spiritual energy manifested as a palpable mist swirling within. At the gate, a youth of surprisingly tender years lay leisurely on a rocking chair, as if he had been expecting him. Are you the master?" Gu Chen gasped for air, his voice trembling with disbelief. This was a stark contrast to the venerable, ethereal image of a grandmaster alchemist he had envisioned. I opened my eyes, assessing the old man who smelled entirely of wine, yet possessed eyes of unusual brilliance. Peak of the 9th level of qi condensation. His foundation is solid, and there remains a residual volatile alchemical fire within his body. He is a talent. Are you the one who has come to rent the pill refinement chamber? Yes. Gu Chen nodded repeatedly, his gaze fixed longingly toward the courtyard. Might I ask, Master, where the premier pill refinement chamber mentioned in the notice is located? Go in and see for yourself. It is the room to the west, I said with a wave of my hand. Gu Chen rushed into the courtyard in a frenzy. As he pushed open the door to the greenstone chamber on the west side, his entire body froze. A wave of scorching, pure fire-attributed spiritual energy washed over his face. In the center of the room stood an ancient bronze alchemy furnace. Beneath the furnace, array formations shimmered, fueling a steady and potent pale blue earth fire that burned with intensity. The walls of the entire chamber were etched with spirit-gathering, mind-calming, and toxin-purifying formations. This is it. Gu tremblingly reached out to stroke the cold alchemy furnace, sensing the aura of the pure earth fire as tears of joy flowed from his eyes. A divine-grade vessel. This is absolutely a divine-grade alchemy chamber. I have searched my entire life for such a place, yet I never imagined it would truly exist. He turned to look at me, his gaze shifting from previous skepticism to fanatical worship. He dropped to his knees with a thud. Junior Gu Chen pays respects to Senior. This act of grace from you, Senior I, Gu Chen, will never forget as long as I live. In his eyes, being able to possess a celestial abode such as this, you are undoubtedly some ancient monster, wandering the mortal realm, merely wearing the appearance of a youth. Alright, get up. Your grand display makes me feel somewhat uneasy. Do not call me Senior. Just call me Landlord. Let us discuss the rent. Landlord, sir. Chen stood up, speaking with agitation. This junior has nothing of significant value. I possess only my alchemy techniques. As long as you allow me to rent this alchemy chamber, from this day forward, all the elixirs I refine. After deducting costs, I will only take 3 parts. The remaining 7 parts shall be offered to you in reverence. He offered an extremely low price, for he knew that being able to utilize such an alchemy chamber was a heaven-sent opportunity for him. I stroked my chin. That is too much. Was stunned. Too much? Has there ever been a landlord who complained that the rent was too high? I say we split the elixirs you refine 550. We shall each take half. However, for the elixirs I require, you must prioritize them for me. I will provide the materials. Many thanks, landlord, sir. Gu Chen was moved to tears, nearly dropping to his knees once more. Ding, congratulations to the host for successfully renting out the primary alchemy chamber to the tenant Gu Chen. Key, refining stage 9 peak level alchemy prodigy. The tenant has been successfully bound. Rental agreement, 50% share of refined elixirs. It is detected that the tenant is extremely satisfied with the alchemy chamber. His mood is agitated, and the host cultivation base began to rise automatically as another surge of warmth flooded into his body. My cultivation level has officially broken through from the 8th layer of qi refining to the 9th. Wonderful. After Gu Chen finalized the contract, he rushed into the alchemy room, locking himself inside to begin a series of frenzied alchemical experiments. Meanwhile, the small courtyard had become increasingly lively. To the east, Lu Xingyan was busy tending to the spiritual herbs. In the spirit field at the center, 2 foundation establishment cultivators were plowing, sweat dripping like rain. To the west, the alchemy room occasionally erupted with the sound of exploding furnaces and Gu Chen's manic laughter. I lay on a rocking chair in the middle of the courtyard, watching this scene of prosperity, and felt as though my life had reached its zenith. However, new problems followed. With so many people, management became an issue. For instance, which plot of land should Zhao Ji and his group plow today? How much water should be used for irrigation? What materials does Gu Chen require for his alchemy? And how should the refined elixirs be stored and distributed? If I had to handle all these trivial matters myself, how could I ever enjoy my peaceful life of leisure? I needed a steward, someone who could manage these mundane affairs so that I could remain the master of the house in peace. My gaze naturally fell upon Lu Xingyan. She works with diligence and responsibility, possesses a meticulous mind, and is loyal to me. She is the most suitable candidate. I summoned Lu Xingyan to stand before me. Miss Lu, the courtyard has become quite crowded lately. I find it difficult to manage everything alone. Lu Xingyan immediately understood my intent and bowed, saying, "Whatever instructions you may have, sir, Tingyan will not refuse." "It is not so serious," I replied with a smile, retrieving a new item from the system, a command token carved from white jade, engraved with an ancient character for order, a state management token, master grade function. The bearer of this token may be authorized by the host to exercise partial management rights within the territory. These authorities include commanding laborers, coordinating supplies, and recording output and consumption. Within the territory, the bearer receives the protection of the territorial formation, granting immunity to all malicious attacks from laborers. I handed the token to Liu Xingyan. "From this day forward, you are the head steward of this estate. All people and affairs in this courtyard shall be under your unified arrangement, including those 2 cultivators and that alchemist. Whatever they require, and whatever they produce, you shall record and distribute. You need only report to me once every day." Lu Qingjian took the warm jade tablet into her hand, feeling a sliver of mysterious power within it, connecting to the formation encompassing the entire courtyard. A turbulent storm surged in her heart. The great steward had entrusted the entire management of the estate to her. What level of trust was this? "Sir, I fear I am not capable of bearing such a heavy responsibility." She felt a mix of trepidation and profound excitement. "If I say you can do it, then you can." I waved my hand, leaving no room for doubt. "Take it. If they fail to listen to you in the future, just use this tablet to discipline them." Lu Qingyan nodded firmly, her eyes brimming with newfound determination. "Understood, sir. I will certainly not betray your trust." From that moment on, my life of ease officially entered its 2-point era. Every day there remained only one task for me, reserved for the hour of dusk. I would listen to Lu Qingyan report the day's harvests in her clear, pleasant voice. "Sir, today the spirit fields produced 37 stalks of first-grade blood-coagulating grass and 3 stalks of second-grade heart-clearing lotus. The 2 laborers, Zhao and Ma, successfully reclaimed 1 acre of land today. The fertility of the spirit fields has improved significantly. Sir, today Alchemist Gu successfully refined 3 batches of qi gathering pills, totaling 27 pills, all of which are of superior quality. However, he did suffer 2 furnace explosions, resulting in some loss of materials." Listening to these reports, I only needed to grunt in acknowledgement or nod occasionally. The sensation of being a hands-off manager, ruling from behind the curtains, was truly more satisfying than cultivation itself. However, these days of leisure did not last long. Today, Gu Chen rushed out of the alchemy room, his face filled with excitement, yet tinged with a hint of embarrassment. "Gu, what is the matter? Did you blow up the furnace again?" "No, it is not that." Tin shook his head excitedly, then pulled a wry face. "This junior has recently been researching an ancient prescription called the soul-nourishing pill. I have grasped 7 parts of the technique, but I am still lacking one crucial primary ingredient." "What primary ingredient?" "The wood core of a 1,000-year-old soul-calming tree," Chen continued. "This item is incredibly rare. It is said to exist only at the intersection of extreme yin and extreme yang. It requires 1,000 years of absorbing the essence of the sun and moon before it can manifest. I have heard that such a place exists within the territory of the Black Fire sect, the soul-calming wood's heart. I repeat this name, the territory of the Black Fire sect. This is truly a troublesome matter. I cannot simply storm the mountain gates of the Black Fire sect for the sake of a piece of wood. That would be entirely inconsistent with my philosophy of lying low. Mr. Fangdong, there is no need to be so hasty. Seeing me knit my brows, Gu Chen hurriedly spoke. Junior only mentioned it in passing. It matters not if it cannot be refined. I shall study another prescription instead. He was deeply afraid that his request might bring trouble upon me. I waved my hand to signal him not to be anxious. I then shifted my gaze toward Zhao Buoji and Ma Yuan, who were hard at work fertilizing the fields. You two, come over here for a moment. Hearing the call, Zhao and Ma hurried over, their attitudes exceptionally respectful. After several days of reformative labor, their arrogance had been thoroughly worn away. Senior, what instructions do you have for us? I ask you, does your Black Fire sect possess soul-calming wood? I asked directly. Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan exchanged glances, both seeing astonishment in each other's eyes. Ma Yuan, being an enforcement elder, was privy to more secrets than most. He hurriedly nodded and bowed, saying, reporting to Senior in the forbidden grounds behind our sect, beside the yin-killing altar, there is indeed a 1,000-year-old soul-calming wood. It is the sect's treasure, personally guarded by the Supreme Elder. The Supreme Elder. He is the only Golden Core stage ancestor of our Black Fire sect. Ma Yuan added, Golden Core stage. This had now become even more troublesome. While I am considered invincible within my own domain, the system has already warned me that once I step outside the boundaries of my territory, my strength will revert to my true cultivation level. I am currently at the 9th layer of the key refining stage. To charge into a sect guarded by a Golden Core ancestor to plunder them, would that not be like an old man hanging himself, seeking his own death? I must think of another way. Very well. I waved my hand, signaling for them to withdraw. It appeared that obtaining that piece of wood would require a long-term plan. However, the common medicinal herbs that Gu Chen required for his alchemy were nearly depleted, and Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuanxi. I had obtained several storage bags, and within them I scavenged quite a fair amount of spirit stones and malevolent artifacts. Keeping these items here only clutters the place. I might as well take them to the market to sell, exchange them for spirit stones, and purchase a new batch of alchemy materials. It was time for a stroll. I rose from my rocking chair. Having been in this world for so long, I had yet to step foot beyond my own small plot of land. I might as well take this opportunity to see what the market in this world looks like. Young lady, I called out. Liu Qingyan immediately set aside her work and came to my side. I must make a trip to the market to purchase some supplies. While I am away, I entrust the household affairs to you. Those 2 cultivators and that alchemist are all under your supervision. If anyone without eyes comes looking for trouble, do not be polite. Activate the highest level defensive formation immediately. Yes, sir. Liu Qingyan nodded solemnly. Rest assured, sir. I will certainly watch over the house with the utmost care. I nodded, changed into a clean green robe, suppressed my cultivation aura to the 5th or 6th level of chi refining, and prepared to depart. Just as I was about to step out of the courtyard gate, the system's notification chimed. Ding warning. The host is about to exit the territory. Upon leaving the territory, the effects of the absolute domain will temporarily cease. The host's strength will revert to your true cultivation level of the 9th level of chi refining. The host is advised to remain cautious, act with care, and avoid unnecessary conflict. I know. I am just going for a walk, I thought to myself. I stepped out of the courtyard, and the moment I crossed the threshold, the sensation of absolute control, where my words carried the weight of divine law, vanished. In its place returned the mundane sensation that a 9th level chi refining cultivator should naturally possess. However, this feeling was quite refreshing. Following the memories in my mind, I headed toward the most prosperous market in Qingyang City. The market of Qingyang City was located in the heart of the city, occupying a vast expanse of land. Shops lined both sides of the street, offering everything from medicinal pills and magical artifacts to talismans and miscellaneous goods. The people coming and going were all hurried cultivators. Their cultivation levels varied, ranging from the early stages of chi refining to the later stages. Occasionally one could even spot a foundation establishment cultivator with a steady, profound aura, drawing looks of reverence and awe from those nearby. Along the roadside there were many rogue cultivators who had laid out pieces of cloth on the ground, displaying beast materials they had hunted or spiritual herbs they had gathered for sale. The sounds of peddling and bargaining were endless, filled with the vibrant, gritty atmosphere of the mortal realm. This sensation evoked a sense of familiarity I had long forgotten, a relic from my existence as a social outcast in my previous life. I casually found a corner and followed the example of the other itinerant cultivators. I retrieved several low-grade spiritual artifacts looted from the disciples of the Black Fire sect, along with a few medicinal elixirs I had no use for, and laid them out on the ground. Not long after I had finished setting up, a shrill and abrasive voice echoed in my ears. Oh, and here I was wondering who it could be. Is this not the great genius of our Chen family? Chen Fan, is it? I raised my head, immediately met with that detestable face. My cheap cousin. Chen Hao, accompanied by 2 lackeys, was looking down at me with a face full of mockery. Since the last time I scared him off at the doorstep, he had kept to himself for a while. I had not expected to cross paths with him today. Are you done playing the turtle in that dilapidated courtyard of yours? Running out here to peddle trash? Chen Hao looked down at me from his elevated position, his tone dripping with contempt. Scram, get out. You are truly a disgrace to our Chen family. I was too lazy to acknowledge him. I did not even bother to lift my eyelids. Dealing with such a small-minded character, indifference is the most effective response. Seeing my silence, Chen Hao assumed I was terrified, and his arrogance grew even more. He kicked the flying sword I had laid out on the ground and cursed. What kind of garbage is this, that you dare to bring it out for sale? Pack it up and get lost. Don't soil the grounds of the marketplace with this junk. My gaze instantly turned cold. I could ignore your presence, but touching my belongings is where I draw the line. I stood up, looked at him, and said calmly, pick it up, place it back where it was, and then apologize. You want me to apologize to a piece of trash like you? Chen Hao acted as if he had just heard the greatest joke in the world. Is something wrong with your head? I kicked it. What are you going to do about it? With that, he aggressively kicked out at another magical artifact. However, his foot stopped dead in midair. A hand, firm as an iron vise, had clamped onto his ankle. I had appeared before him, before he could even register the movement. Did you not hear what I just said? My voice was calm, yet to Chen Hao's ears, it sounded like icy whispers from the 9 netherworlds. Chen Hao's expression changed instantly. He tried to pull his leg back, only to find that my grip was as immovable as a mountain. A surge of immense power radiated from my hand into his ankle. The excruciating pain caused cold sweat to pour down his face. You, let go of me. Chen Hao was both terrified and infuriated. Chen Fan, what are you trying to do? This is the market where private duels are forbidden. I am not dueling, I am merely helping you set your foot back into its proper place, I said calmly. With those words, I applied a slight pressure to his wrist. A crisp sound of bone breaking echoed through the air. Chen Hao let out a scream as wretched as a slaughtered pig, losing his balance and clutching his deformed ankle as he collapsed to the ground, rolling in agony. The 2 lackeys standing behind him were struck dumb. They could never have imagined that the trash they remembered, always sickly and frail, would dare to strike Chen Hao with such severity right here in the market. Furthermore, his speed and strength, they hadn't even clearly perceived his movements a moment ago. The surrounding cultivators were also drawn to the commotion, pointing and whispering among themselves. Isn't that Chen Hao of the Chen family? How did he get beaten like that? He deserves it. He usually bullies others in this market. Today he has finally kicked an iron plate. That young man who struck him also appears to be from the Chen family. Just then, 2 members of the market enforcement team, both at the 8th level of Qi refining, approached rapidly. What is the meaning of this? Who dares to cause trouble in the market? The lead enforcement cultivator shouted authoritatively. Seeing the enforcement team arrive, Chen Hao felt as though he had found his salvation. Suppressing his intense pain, he pointed at me, lodging a preemptive complaint. Enforcement Lord, save me. This Chen Fan, he injured me without provocation, and disregarded the rules of the market. Quickly, arrest him. The enforcement cultivator's gaze fell upon me, his brows furrowing. So it was you who attacked? I nodded, expression unchanged, and said, he attacked first, he overturned my stall. I was merely acting in legitimate self-defense. You lie, Chen Hao roared. I only bumped into it by accident. It was you. You intentionally crippled my leg. Oh? I chuckled, looking toward the enforcement cultivator. The fellow Taoists here have seen everything clearly. As for who is right and who is wrong, the truth will be known with a simple inquiry. The enforcement cultivator swept his gaze across the surrounding crowd. Immediately, several rogue cultivators, who had long been disgusted by Chen Hao's daily behavior, stepped forward to speak in the name of justice. Lord Enforcer, we can bear witness that Chen Hao was the provocateur. He even intended to destroy this young man's goods before the lad retaliated. Indeed, we all saw it clearly. Upon hearing this, the enforcer's expression darkened as he looked at Chen Hao with a gaze filled with disdain. He knelt to inspect Chen Hao's injury and let out a cold snort. It is merely a shattered ankle. You will recover in a few months. You won't die from this. For stirring up trouble within the market city, you should have been expelled immediately. But out of consideration for your status as a descendant of the Chen clan, I shall fine you 100 low-grade spirit stones as a warning to others. As for you? He stood up and looked at me. Even though the other party provoked you first, your retaliation was excessive, which is also a violation of the rules. I fine you 10 low-grade spirit stones. Do you have any objections? This judgment appeared to punish both sides equally, but in reality, he was clearly favoring me. I had none. I decisively produced 10 spirit stones and handed them over. I refused to accept this. Chen Hao continued to howl. He crippled my leg. Yet he is only fined 10 stones. I will take this to the Hall of Enforcement and sue him. Silence. The enforcement cultivator barked impatiently. If you dare to cause more of a scene, I will throw you into the dungeon as well. With that, he ignored him further, escorting Chen Hao away and forcing his lackeys to pay the fine before they sullenly departed. And so the commotion began to subside. I sat back down and rearranged my goods on the ground, as if nothing had happened at all. However, the way the surrounding cultivators looked at me had completely shifted. A youth who could effortlessly cripple a cultivator at the third level of chi condensation and face the enforcement squad without batting an eye was certainly not someone to be trifled with. For a while my small stall became significantly quieter, but this was exactly as I desired. Just as I thought I could enjoy a moment of peace, a voice filled with surprise rang out beside me. "Chen Fan, is that you?" I turned to look and saw a young man dressed in the robes of a Chen clan deacon, staring at me with a conflicted expression. "It is Chen Yu. You once gifted me a bottle of medicinal pills, and have always been a fair-minded deacon of the family." "Deacon Yu?" I nodded, in acknowledgement as a greeting. Chen Yu's gaze lingered on me for a long moment, his eyes filled with scrutiny and confusion. Your health has recovered?" "Some time ago, I happened to encounter a stroke of fate, and my old illness has since vanished," I explained offhandedly. "I saw everything that transpired just now." Chen Yu sighed. "Although Chen Hao is unruly, your actions were far too ruthless. He is, after all, the grandnephew of the family head, and you will invite great trouble upon yourself by doing this." "Trouble?" I smiled. "For someone like me, the thing I fear the least is trouble." Chen Yu looked at my indifferent expression, shook his head, and seemed to want to say more. Just then, a melodious bell chimed from the largest three-story building in the center of the marketplace. The sound echoed throughout the market, and the once boisterous streets instantly quieted down. Everyone's eyes turned in unison toward that building. On the building's plaque, the three grand characters Tu Bao Ge were inscribed with bold, sweeping calligraphy. "The auction at Tu Bao Ge is about to begin. I hear there are quite a few rare treasures in this auction. Let's go and have a look." The crowd began to surge toward Tu Bao Ge. Chen Yu no longer felt the need to advise me, saying, "This is the monthly auction held by Tu Bao Ge. There may be items you require inside. I must also go and see. Take care of yourself." Having said that, he hurried off to join the crowd heading toward the auction house. I looked at the pathetic items on the ground, then touched the small fortune of several thousand spirit stones inside my storage ring. It would be worth a look. Perhaps with a bit of luck, I might find what I need. For instance, the Anhu wood. I packed up my stall and followed the crowd toward the greatest center of wealth in Qingyang City. Inside Tu Bao Ge, the crowd was as dense as a forest, and the first floor, which served as the main hall, was packed to capacity. Those seated here were common rogue cultivators or disciples of minor clans. The second floor consisted of individual private rooms, accessible only to prominent figures or wealthy patrons who could afford the high price of admission. I found an inconspicuous corner in the main hall and sat down, quietly waiting for the auction to commence. Soon, a middle-aged woman, still retaining her elegant beauty, stepped onto the auction stage. She was the head auctioneer of the Gathering Treasure Pavilion. "Yun Yang welcomes all fellow Taoists to our monthly auction at the Gathering Treasure Pavilion." Yun Yang's voice was clear and melodious, carrying a unique allure as she wasted no words. "Next, please observe our first auction item." As she finished speaking, a maidservant approached carrying a tray covered by a red cloth. Yun Yang lifted the red cloth, revealing a spirit herb that was emerald green from top to bottom, emanating a faint, chilling aura. A second-grade ice heart herb, the primary ingredient for refining ice attribute medicinal pills. The starting price is 50 low-grade spirit stones. Each bid increment must be no less than 5 stones, 60-70. The atmosphere of the auction heated up rapidly. Item after item was brought out. Spirit herbs, magical artifacts, talismans, and even an incomplete cultivation manual. I watched with great interest, yet I did not make a move. These items held no great appeal to me. It was not until the 10th auction item was presented, a piece of wood the size of an arm, pitch black, radiating wisps of cold air, that my attention was captured. Yun Yang's tone became significantly more solemn. "The next auction item, I believe, will be of great use to many fellow Taoists. A third-grade spirit material, soul-calming wood. This wood is a supreme treasure for quieting the mind, stabilizing the spirit, and warding off inner demons. They're worn during meditative cultivation or refined into a magical artifact. It possesses miraculous effects. It is a rare treasure, especially for those fellow Taoists who cultivate soul-based techniques or are preparing to break through a bottleneck." My eyes immediately brightened. Although this soul-calming wood was not thousand-year-old wood heart, it was merely an ordinary 100-year-old branch. Yet for Gu Chen, it was sufficient to conduct his preliminary experiments. Truly, one searches high and low in vain, only to find it when one least expects it. This piece of soul-calming wood weighs approximately 10 jin. The starting price is 500 low-grade spirit stones, with a minimum increment of 50 stones. The auction now begins. No sooner had Yun Yang finished than the crowd below fell into a commotion. 550, 600, I bid 700. The price soared, quickly exceeding 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. I was in no hurry to bid. quietly observing them as they vied for the item. Finally, as the price climbed to 14,300 low-grade spirit stones, the voices from below gradually thinned. After all, for the vast majority of chi refining stage cultivators, spending over 1,000 spirit stones to acquire it is hardly a cost-effective investment. Weigh 300 spirit stones. Does anyone offer a higher price? If not, this piece of soul-calming wood will belong to this fellow Taoist. Yun Niang scanned the entire hall, preparing to bring the gavel down and seal the deal. 1,500 spirit stones. A calm voice rang out from the corner where I sat, and the gaze of the entire hall immediately converged upon me. When they saw that the bidder was a youth who appeared entirely unremarkable, expressions of astonishment surfaced on their faces. The cultivator who had bid 300 was a massive burly man with a fleshy, aggressive face. He glared at me menacingly, but in the end he sat back down in a fit of rage. 1,500 spirit stones. This young brother has bid 1,500 spirit stones. Does anyone offer more? A professional smile bloomed on Yu Niang's face. Just as she was about to strike the gavel, a clear, cold female voice suddenly drifted down from a private room on the second floor. 2,000. The voice was not loud, yet it echoed throughout the entire venue. The hall was in an uproar, as she had raised the bid by a full 500. Such an opening bid immediately marked her as a person of significant standing, and everyone gazed curiously toward that private room. I wanted to know which great figure also harbored an interest in this piece of soul-calming wood. My brows furrowed slightly. I had not expected someone to intervene halfway through. 3,000. I followed up with a slight hesitation. Having scoured the wealth of Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, I possessed nearly 10,000 spirit stones, and my intention was simple, to use financial pressure to secure a swift victory. However, the woman in that private room seemed intent on challenging me. 4,000, the voice replied. It remained clear and cold, as indifferent as drifting clouds and flowing water. It was as if the 4,000 spirit stones in her eyes were no different than 4. The cultivators in the main hall were completely dumbfounded. They were no longer watching an auction. They were witnessing a battle between immortals, squandering 4,000 low-grade spirit stones for a mere piece of century-old soul-calming wood. This was absolute madness. My expression darkened. This person was intentionally targeting me. 5,000, I countered. My voice now carried a hint of frost. This price had long since surpassed the item's inherent value. I wanted to see what the background of this individual competing for the soul-calming wood truly was. The private room fell silent for a moment, and just as everyone assumed the woman would withdraw, she increased the bid again. The 100. Though it was an increase of only 100, the refusal to concede was unmistakable. I narrowed my eyes. Interesting. I was just about to continue raising the price, intending to use my absolute financial superiority to overwhelm my opponent. Suddenly, a sound transmission accurately fell into my ears. It was the voice of that woman. Fellow Taoist, would you be willing to cede this item to this young maiden? This object is a matter of life and death for me. If you are willing to yield, I, of the Qingzhou Sword Sect, will certainly reward you handsomely. I am Ling Shuang, a disciple of the Qingzhou Sword Sect. At the mention of the Qingzhou Sword Sect, information I had gathered at the market flashed through my mind. The sect is currently vying for territory with the Black Flame sect, and furthermore, her name is Ling. Before I could even respond, Yu Niang on the auction stage began the countdown. 5,100 spirit stones going once, 5,100 going twice. If this fellow Taoist does not increase the bid, then this soul-calming would. 10,000. In the end, I spoke up. A cold, flat figure that caused everyone in the hall to gasp in unison. It was not that I sought to compete with her for the sake of pride, but rather because the system had suddenly pinged, triggering a hidden mission clue regarding the salvation of a golden core cultivator, pointing toward the bidder, Ling Chang. Her master is a powerful golden core expert who suffered soul damage due to a cultivation deviation, and is in urgent need of a soul-nourishing pill for recovery. The soul-calming wood is a vital ingredient for concocting the soul-nourishing pill. The mission prompt was to seize this item. This is a long-term investment with an exceptionally high rate of return. Investment is what I enjoy most, especially investing in a golden core expert. If this succeeds, won't collecting rent at the territory of the Green Bamboo sect be smooth sailing in the future? Therefore, I must obtain this piece of wood. 10,000. As this number left my lips, the entire treasure-gathering pavilion fell into a deathly silence. Everyone stared at me as if I were a monster. Even Yu Niang on the auction stage had her mouth agape, unable to close it. 10,000 low-grade spirit stones for a 100-year-old piece of soul-calming wood. This is not just madness, it is insanity. The private room on the second floor also fell into a prolonged silence. It was evident that my bid had completely overwhelmed the fairy Ling Chang from the Green Bamboo Sword Sect. Fellow Taoist you. Ling Chang's voice came through via sound transmission, carrying a trace of trembling and confusion. I apologize, I responded via the same sound transmission method, my tone calm and indifferent. I have a great need for this item as well. Are you joking? This is a strategic investment concerning the future expansion of my real estate empire. How could I possibly yield? No further sound emerged from the private room. Clearly 10,000 spirit stones had exceeded her limit of tolerance. 10 spirit stones going once, 10,000 going twice, 10,000 going 3 times. Nyang finally regained her senses and used all her strength to strike the small hammer in her hand. Congratulations to this fellow Daoist. This esteemed guest has successfully won the bid for the 3rd grade spiritual material, the soul calming wood. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying her hidden unease. Under the collective gaze of the crowd, I stepped toward the backstage area, my expression unreadable. Watched by the reverent disciples of the treasure pavilion, I settled the payment in spirit stones and claimed the wood, which had commanded an astronomical price. As I exited the treasure pavilion, a figure blocked my path. It was none other than the one who had contested the bid against me. Ling Shuang was clad in an elegant green dress, with an ancient longsword strapped to her back. Her appearance was peerless, yet her demeanor was as cold as frost, akin to a celestial maiden untouched by the filth of the mortal world. However, at this moment, a flicker of anxiety and entreaty rippled through her clear, icy eyes. "Well, Taoist, please wait," I asked coldly. "What is the meaning of this?" "Taoist?" Ling Shuang bowed deeply to me. "I know my request is abrupt, but that piece of soul-calming wood is vital to my master's life. I am willing to pay double the price to purchase it from you. I beseech you to grant me this favor." "I am not selling," I refused firmly. Ling Shuang's beautiful face paled, and she bit her lip. Clearly, she had not expected such a decisive rejection. She retrieved a medallion from her storage ring and held it out before me. "This is the VIP token of our Green Bamboo Sword Sect. Fellow Taoist, as long as you are willing to cede it, our Green Bamboo Sword Sect will certainly offer a reward that will satisfy you. My master is a golden core stage cultivator. If you can save her, the favor of such an expert is immeasurable." She began to play her trump cards. The favor of a golden core expert is a temptation that any chi refining stage cultivator would find impossible to refuse. But am I merely an ordinary chi refining cultivator? I am a man determined to become the strongest innkeeper in the cultivation world. Can such a favor be exchanged for property deeds, or can it be used to pay rent? It was all too illusory. What I require are tangible benefits. "Your master requires the soul-nurturing pill," I stated, breaking the silence. I asked this suddenly. Ling Shuang froze, a look of profound astonishment flashing through her beautiful eyes. "Fellow Taoist, how did you know?" "The recipe for the soul-nurturing pill was lost long ago." She did not expect that such a young-looking man would speak so bluntly. "Not only do I know of it, I also know how to refine it," I said calmly. "Naturally, the one who knows how to refine it is not me, but my hired alchemist, Gu Chen. However, that is of no consequence. What belongs to Gu Chen belongs to me." "What?" This time, Lynx was truly shocked. She stepped forward in agitation, grasping my arm. "Are your words true, Taoist? Can you truly refine the soul-nourishing pill?" Naturally, I looked at her with a friendly professional smile. "However, alchemy requires costs. Furthermore, a pill of the soul-nourishing grade carries significant risk, and should the process fail..." Ling Shuang immediately understood my intent, and spoke without a moment's hesitation. "Rest assured, Taoist, regardless of success or failure, all materials will be provided by our Qingzhou sword sect. As long as you are willing to act, whatever conditions you set, provided it is within our sect's power, we will not refuse." That statement is all I needed to hear. I nodded in satisfaction. This is the attitude an investor should have, is it not? "The condition is simple." I raised a single finger. "Your Qingzhou sword sect is too far away, and I am too lazy to travel. You may send people to deliver the materials to my location, and I will allow your alchemist to rent my alchemy room. Naturally, the primary alchemist must be one of my own." Ling Shuang was stunned. Is such an arrangement even possible? Why? Why is this? She did not understand. "Professionalism," I said, keeping it brief. "My alchemy room and my staff can ensure the highest possible success rate for pill refinement. As for the rental fee," I looked at her, finally stating my ultimate objective. "I have no need for your spirit stones or your favors. Once the pills are refined, I want the 10-mile-wide stretch of the Qingzhou mountainside facing the sun, just outside your Qingzhou sword sect's mountain gate. I want the land deed." Ling Shuang's mouth hung open, and her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. She had anticipated countless conditions I might propose, demanding artifacts, techniques, or spirit stones. But she never imagined that the only thing I desired was a plot of land, and a hillside outside their sect at that. Although the spiritual energy here is decent, it can only be used to cultivate some green bamboo. It holds no greater purpose. How is this person's mind so peculiar? Just as Ling Chang remained lost in her shock, the sound of the system notification echoed in my mind like a voice from the heavens. "Ding, congratulations to the host for achieving the intent for cross-regional real estate investment. Activating Epic Tier Quest Chain, the foundation stone of the real estate empire. Quest Phase 1. Successful slice in the soul nurturing film, and obtain the land deeds for Green Bamboo Slope. Quest rewards. Real estate points plus 10,000. Comprehensive upgrade of the system shop. Reward for a special architectural blueprint. And a fragment of an interdimensional teleportation array. An interdimensional teleportation array. I was overcome with joy. This is precisely what an innkeeper needs most. With this, I can remain at home while expanding my real estate empire across the entire cultivation world. I looked at Ling Chang's beautiful, bewildered face, and my smile became even more sincere. Well, Fairy Ling Chang? Are you, or are you not going to make this investment for your green bamboo sword sect? Ling Chang drew a deep breath. She gazed into my deep, piercing eyes, which seemed capable of seeing through everything, and finally she gave a heavy nod. Very well, I agree. I shall return to the sect and report this to my elders. She pressed the honored guest token into my hand, then hurriedly transformed into a beam of sword light, soaring into the sky. I held the token in my hand, then glanced at the priceless piece of soul-calming wood inside my storage ring. Hai Long turned and walked toward his humble abode. However, before I could even leave the market, a brilliant seven-colored light suddenly erupted from the direction of my small courtyard. That light, acting like a pillar connecting heaven and earth, illuminating half the sky in a dazzling display. Immediately afterward, an intensely potent medicinal fragrance, accompanied by a haughty, resounding laugh, echoed from afar. Success, my yin-yang reversal pill has finally been perfected. A heavenly phenomenon, a transcendent-grade pill has been born. A single breath of this fragrance is enough to loosen the bottlenecks of one's cultivation. East of the city, it was that mysterious courtyard again. I stared at that seven-colored pillar of light piercing the heavens, and the smile on my face instantly stiffened. Damn it, this old codger has stirred up such a massive commotion. It is impossible to remain low-key this time. Clouds of medicinal radiance filled the sky, and an exotic fragrance permeated the city. My small courtyard at the eastern edge of the city had now become the eye of the storm for all of Qingyang City. The seven-colored light, akin to a divine miracle, shot straight into the high heavens, and the thick aroma of the pill seemed to sprout legs, aggressively forcing its way into the nostrils of every cultivator in the city. A domineering force stirred the tranquil spiritual energy within their bodies. In an instant, countless threads of spiritual sense, varying in strength, converged upon the east side of the city like sharks, catching the scent of blood. Moments later, streaks of light pierced the sky, rushing toward my residence from every direction of the city. Damn it, that old geezer. Standing on the market street and watching the seven-colored light flashing brilliantly above my roof, I could not help but curse under my breath. The humble, mysterious image I had worked so hard to cultivate had been completely shattered by his roar. Now look at this. The entire city knows that my home holds a treasure. I packed away my belongings and ceased my stroll, my figure flickering as I vanished into the crowd, rushing back home at my maximum speed. By the time I reached the courtyard gate, the area was already surrounded by layer upon layer of spectators, packed as tight as a mortar, led by several Foundation establishment cultivators with composed auras. Among them stood a middle-aged man dressed in the official robes of the city lord's mansion. With a solemn expression, he was none other than Li Tiangong, the lord of Qingyang City, a formidable expert at the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Beside him stood the head of our Chen family, my uncle, Chen Tianxiong. The expression on Chen Tianxiong's face was immensely complex at this moment. It held the shock of witnessing such a heaven-sent phenomenon, yet he could not conceal the greed burning in his eyes. Than anything, there was a profound sense of apprehension toward my courtyard. Beside him were several clan elders, including Deacon Chen Wu, whom I had encountered at the market previously. Beyond them were the patriarchs of the other major families in the city. Everyone peered eagerly into the courtyard, whispering and murmuring in heated discussion. City Lord Li, the emergence of such a precious elixir is truly a blessing for our Qingyang city. I wonder which master is refining pills here. The patriarch of a minor clan asked fawningly. Li Tiang did not answer. He merely stared intently at the tightly shut gate of the courtyard, his gaze heavy and grave. He could sense that this seemingly ordinary courtyard was shrouded in a protective formation so powerful that it made even him shudder. He dared not act rashly. At that very moment, I pushed through from the back of the crowd. Everyone, if you would be so kind as to make way. You are blocking the entrance to my home. My calm voice resonated, and the surrounding crowd turned back one after another. Upon recognizing me, they instinctively cleared a path. In Qingyang City, my face had effectively become a pass that granted me free movement. Ignoring the astonished and probing gazes of the people, I walked straight to the courtyard gate. It was as if these elite Foundation establishment experts were nothing more than ordinary. Chen Fan and Chen Fan caught sight of me and instinctively called out, their voices laced with attention they themselves did not seem to perceive. Li Tianchong's gaze fell upon me like lightning. So, you are the master of this courtyard. Indeed. I nodded, drawing the key to prepare to unlock the gate. Is there something the matter? City Lord Li, you have brought quite a crowd to my doorstep. Might there be an occasion for this? We are here for the demolition of this property. Li Tianchong was left momentarily speechless by my blunt question, the corner of his mouth twitching in frustration. He took a deep breath, attempting to steady his tone to sound more conciliatory. Little friend, you jest. It is only that moments ago a brilliant light soared from this estate, and the aroma of elixir permeated the air. It appeared that a supreme medicinal pill had manifested, a monumental event that has not been witnessed in our Qingyang city for 100 years. As city lord, I have come specifically to offer my congratulations, and to witness what manner of divine pill this is, and which master has refined it. Though his words were courteous, the intent was transparent. They desired to see the pill and meet the alchemist who had forged it. Oh, you speak of that? I feigned a sudden realization. One of my tenants was merely refining it for amusement. The commotion was a bit excessive. My apologies for the disturbance caused to you all. Refining it for amusement. Everyone present felt as though their minds were failing to process such a statement. A supreme pill capable of triggering celestial phenomena, refined merely for the sake of amusement? This brat was showing off, flaunting his arrogance in the most blatant manner. Just as the crowd was lost in their own turbulent thoughts, with a sharp creak, the courtyard gate was pushed open from within, and an elderly man with snow-white hair and a long beard rushed out clutching a jade box, his face so flushed with excitement that his entire body trembled, his mouth still muttering incessantly. It is a success, truly a success. The union of yin and yang, a single cycle to forge creation. He completely ignored the prominent figures standing at the gate. His eyes were fixed solely upon the elixir within his grasp. The gaze of every person present instantly locked onto that jade box. Even through the barrier of the jade, they could sense the formidable medicinal power contained within. It possessed a ripple of Tao energy that seemed capable of defying life and death, of reshaping the very heavens and earth. Master Gu? Li Tiancheng's voice trembled slightly. He realized that Gu Chen, who had roamed Qingyang City for over a decade, dismissed by all as a madman, a drunkard, and an alchemist of no standing, was the very same man who had just manifested such a cataclysmic vision in the heavens. Landlord, Chen called out, finally noticing my presence. He rushed over in a flurry of excitement and presented a jade box to me. I have not failed the mission entrusted to me. Let me see, I replied, taking the jade box and prying it open just a crack. Inside lay a pill roughly the size of a longan, one half blazing crimson like fire, the other an icy deep cerulean. Two entirely antithetical auras flowed across the surface of the pill, coalescing into a perfect, profoundly mystical yin-yang formation. Tenant Gu Chen has successfully refined a yin-yang reversal of transcendent quality. Alchemy rune proficiency increased by 100. Tenant Gu Chen's insight into the Tao of alchemy increased by 500. According to the lease agreement, the host receives 50% ownership of this pill. I nodded in satisfaction and snapped the jade box shut. Not bad, you have worked hard. Your bonus for this task shall be doubled. Thank you, landlord. Gu Chen was overcome with joy. Our private conversation had completely disregarded the gathering of prominent figures at the entrance, leaving them feeling profoundly slighted. Li Tianxiang's expression flickered between shades of pale and livid. As the lord of the city, how could he possibly be accustomed to such cold indifference? Eventually, he could no longer contain his composure. He stepped forward and said in a deep, heavy voice, "Young friend Chen, this pill is of immense importance. Might you allow this old man a glimpse?" Certainly. I nodded, then shifted the focus of the conversation. However, I have my own rules here. I swept my gaze over the influential figures, standing at the door with eyes burning like searchlights, and cleared my throat to announce loudly. Starting from today, my alchemy room is officially accepting commissions for the refinement of high-grade medicinal pills. This yin-yang reversal pill is our debut demonstration, the first shot fired to establish our brand. It is a display piece, not for sale. If you wish to obtain such elixirs, very well. Bring your own pill formulas and materials, and line up to book a slot. I charge only a rental fee. As soon as I spoke, the entire assembly was struck with astonishment. I was not resolving a crisis. I was holding a press conference. I was not reacting to their pressure. I was actively attracting investment. I looked at the most powerful figures in Qingyang City, and offered them the most sincere smile of an innkeeper welcoming high-quality clientele. I only collect rent. Li Tiangang was stunned. He had lived for nearly 200 years. And this was the first time he had heard such a strange proposition. A medicinal pill that countless foundation establishment peak stage cultivators would fight tooth and nail over was not for sale. Yet I spoke of providing a service, only charging a fee. What exactly was running through this young man's mind? Not bad. I nodded and tossed the jade box in my hand to Gu Chen. Explain the functions and effects of our sample to them first, and let them understand exactly what our service here is worth. Very well, innkeeper. Gu Chen now followed my instructions implicitly. Receiving the jade box, he cleared his throat, and the natural aura of an alchemy grandmaster emanated from him. He faced the gathering of influential figures from Qingyang City and declared loudly, "Gentlemen, this pill is named the Yin-Yang Reversal Pill. and it was refined by this old man based on an ancient, incomplete prescription. After dedicating a lifetime of effort to perfecting it, it possesses only one effect. He paused for a moment, a fervent light flashing in his eyes. It assists cultivators at the great perfection of foundation establishment, harmonizing the yin and yang energies within the body, increasing the chance of breaking through the bottleneck by 30%. Refined within a blessed land such as the innkeepers, it can increase the odds of forming a golden core by at least 50%. 50%. When those two words left Gu Chen's lips, the entire scene instantly spiraled out of control. What? 50%? Heavens, have I heard correctly? Increasing the chance of forming a core by 50%. This is no longer just a divine pill. This is the key to the path of the golden core. The breathing of every foundation establishment cultivator, their eyes immediately turned bloodshot, staring intensely at the jade box in Gu Chen's hand. Their gazes were so intense it was as if they longed to rush forward and seize it by force. One must understand that the transition from foundation establishment to golden core is a vast chasm on the path of cultivation. If 1 out of every 100 cultivators at the great perfection of foundation establishment succeeds in condensing a core, they are already considered an extraordinary talent. Any medicinal pill capable of increasing one's chances of success by even half a part is enough to incite a storm of blood and slaughter. Yet this particular pill could increase the odds by a full 5 parts. This is no longer merely defying the heavens. This is an open provocation against the heavenly Tao itself. Li Tianggong's body was trembling ever so slightly. He had been trapped at the late stage of foundation establishment for 50 years. Seeing his lifespan waning, he had all but abandoned hope of forming a core. The appearance of this pill was to him nothing less than a traveler in a parched desert, finally catching sight of an oasis. He could no longer maintain the dignity and composure expected of a city lord. In a hoarse voice, he asked, "Master Chen, regarding the customization service you mentioned, specifically, what are the rules?" Seeing that the fish had taken the bait, I chuckled inwardly. "The rules are very simple," I said, holding up 3 fingers. "First, the one requesting the pill must provide the alchemical formula and 3 sets of ingredients. I do not care where you obtain them. I only require the results. Second, the pill refinement must be overseen by Grandmaster Gu, my tenant, and conducted within my private refinement room. Once the refinement is complete, regardless of success or failure, we will only keep 1 portion of the ingredients as a fee for the venue and labor. Third, and this is the most important point." I looked around at everyone and emphasized I operate on a first-come, first-served basis. We will now begin taking reservations and issuing numbers. As for the first spot in the queue, it shall go to whoever offers the highest price. These words from me were clear and logical, effectively transforming a potential chaotic scramble into a controlled commercial auction. Everyone looked at one another, seeing the shared astonishment and helplessness in each other's eyes. This youth's schemes were far too sophisticated. He refuses to sell the pills directly because selling one means losing one, which would only invite endless trouble. But offering a service is an entirely different matter. You provide the ingredients, you bear the risks, while he sits back to reap the rewards. It is a guaranteed profit with no possibility of loss. Furthermore, this binds every petitioner into his own personal chain of interests. Truly, his methods are masterful. I offer 5,000 spirit stones for the first spot. A stout family patriarch was the first to react, his neck bulging as he shouted, "You offer 5,000? Are you trying to mock me?" Another gaunt elder let out a cold laugh. "I bid 8,000. My 100 Herbs Pavilion is willing to offer 1,000-year-old fleece flower root, plus 100,000 spirit stones, to secure the first furnace slot." The proprietor of the 100 Herbs Pavilion, a sharp-eyed middle-aged man, had effectively dropped a bombshell. In an instant, the entrance descended into complete chaos, transforming into an impromptu auction house. Chen Tianxiong stood nearby, staring in a daze, his mind caught in a fierce internal struggle. The Chen clan possessed a supreme elder who had been stuck at the great circle of foundation establishment for years. If they could secure this opportunity... But then he remembered how he had treated me in the past, and seeing the mocking, enigmatic look in my eyes, he felt as if a basin of ice water had been poured over him. He didn't dare utter a single word. Just as the scene was spiraling out of control, a cold streak of sword light descended from the heavens, landing on the periphery of the crowd. Ling Shuang had returned. Seeing the pandemonium before her, her beautiful face shifted slightly. Fearing something had happened to me, she hurriedly pushed through the crowd. "Master Chen, Fairy Ling Shuang, you have returned at the perfect moment," I said with a smile. "Out of the 172 soul-nurturing pills ordered, yours is ready. I have reserved a VIP passage specifically for you." These words were spoken deliberately for all to hear. As expected, upon hearing the mention of soul-nurturing pills and a VIP passage, the gazes directed at Ling Shuang were filled with admiration and envy. Ling Shuang was momentarily stunned, but soon understood my intentions, and a warmth stirred within her heart. This Master Chen acted with such impeccable foresight. He had not only solved her predicament but had also invisibly elevated her standing. She nodded in gratitude, said nothing more, and stood quietly by my side. Li Tiangong surveyed the chaotic scene, took a deep breath, and channeled his spiritual power to boom out. Everyone, please remain calm. The pressure of his late-stage foundation establishment aura immediately silenced the entire hall. He turned toward me and bowed with great solemnity. Master Chen, this first furnace, the Qingyang City Lord's mansion desires it. I am willing to trade a 3,000-year-old blood vine from our treasury, plus the 3-year mining rights to a high-grade spirit vein south of the city. In exchange for this first opportunity, he had proposed a price no one could refuse, a high-grade spirit vein. His generosity was truly immense. I nodded in satisfaction. Very well, City Lord. You are indeed generous, though I have no interest in mining rights. I shook my head. It is too much trouble. I am far too lazy to send men to excavate it. I prefer to simply claim the land, have the deeds for the mountain containing the mine transferred to me, and we shall conclude the deal. Li Tiancheng was stunned at first upon hearing this, but then he was overcome with joy, realizing that trading a mountain mine, which would eventually be depleted, for a genuine opportunity to form his golden core was a bargain. This transaction was heavily in his favor. Very well, it is decided. The storm triggered by the divine pill had been resolved into a mutually beneficial business cooperation, with nothing more than a few casual words from me. Not only did I avoid unnecessary trouble, but without spending a single coin, I had secured the second plot of land for my real estate empire. I looked at the gazes of the crowd, filled with a mixture of awe and helplessness, and thought to myself that being an innkeeper truly is the most comfortable profession in this world. Just as Qingyang City was buzzing with excitement over my medicinal pill rental service, thousands of miles away, in a colossal mountain range shrouded in rolling black clouds, lay the sect grounds of the Black Flame sect. Inside the Grand Hall, the sect master of the Black Flame sect, a cultivator at the great perfection of the Foundation establishment realm, with a somber expression, paced back and forth in agitation. Ever since Elder Ma Yuan lost contact, he had sent several scouting parties to Qingyang City, but they had all vanished like stones sinking into the sea. With 3 disappearances, he vaguely felt that this time, the sect had kicked a solid iron plate. Just as he was mired in distress, a stone door that had remained sealed for years deep within the hall creaked open. A scorching and terrifying aura, as if a volcano were erupting, radiated from behind the stone door. Before this presence, the sect master of the Black Flame sect, a powerhouse at the great perfection of the Foundation establishment, was forced to his knees instantly, like a mere ant, unable to move a muscle. Who dares to disturb my seclusion? An aged, hoarse voice echoed from within the stone door, every syllable seeming to carry flames capable of scorching one's very soul. Great Ancestor. The sect master of the Black Flame sect trembled and kowtowed respectfully. This disciple is incompetent for disturbing the Great Ancestor's cultivation. My crime is worthy of death 1,000 times over. Speak, the aged voice commanded, devoid of any emotion. Reporting to the Great Ancestor, our 2 uncles, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan, have fallen in Qingyang City, and the disciples I sent to investigate have also failed to return. Furthermore, just moments ago, a heavenly phenomenon manifested in the direction of Qingyang City. Silence descended within the stone chamber, and that terrifying pressure seemed to flicker for a brief moment. Ma Yuan, those 2 useless fools. Treasure pill. The aged voice echoed once more, this time carrying a hint of imperceptible greed. My Crimson Flame demonic art is currently on the verge of a breakthrough. If I could be aided by a top-grade treasure pill, I might be able to shatter this bottleneck and step into the mid-stage of the Golden Core realm. Prepare the carriage. I shall personally make a trip to Qingyang City. Your command is our law. The sect master of the Black Fire sect was overjoyed upon hearing this. The old ancestor was about to take action personally. This old ancestor is the pillar of the Black Fire sect, a peerless expert at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. Once he strikes, the so-called Qingyang City and the mysterious expert will all be reduced to dust. Meanwhile, I had just finished signing the land transfer contract with Li Tiangong, obtaining the deed to the Spirit Mountain south of the city. Ding, congratulations to the host for acquiring new real estate. Southern City Spirit or Mountain, real estate rank, mid-grade spirit property, exploitable items. Mineral mining, cultivation of fire tribute spirit herbs, establishing a branch office, property points 2,000. Just as I was preparing to close the doors and plan for my new property, a terrifying, suffocating pressure suddenly descended from the western horizon. This pressure was hundreds, thousands of times more potent than what Ma Yuan had exerted before. Under this immense weight, all of Qingyang City seemed like a small skiff trembling amidst a raging storm. Every cultivator in the city, regardless of their cultivation level, felt as though their hearts were being gripped by an invisible hand, and even breathing became a struggle. The bustling courtyard gate instantly fell into dead silence. Li Tiangong, Chen Tianxiong, and a group of Foundation establishment experts instantly turned as pale as sheets. A golden core old ancestor, Li Tiangong's voice was filled with boundless terror. This aura comes from the direction of the Black Fire sect. The old monster of the Black Fire sect has arrived. It is over. These 2 words were all that remained in everyone's hearts. With a golden core old ancestor arriving in person, his strength is more than enough to effortlessly slaughter the entire Qingyang city. The beautiful face of Lin Shuang also instantly drained of all color. She instinctively gripped the long sword behind her back. Protect me. Master Chen quickly, retreat into the courtyard. This old demon has come specifically for us. I merely raised my eyelids, casting a glance at the black clouds gathering on the western horizon, yet there was no trace of fear upon my face. Instead, a hint of impatience surfaced. Honestly, having just concluded an important matter, now an uninvited guest arrives. Does one not even have the right to rest? I carried my rocking chair to the front of the courtyard gate and laid down in front of everyone with utter indifference. This relaxed and leisurely demeanor stood in stark contrast to the panicked and restless appearance of those around me. In the blink of an eye, the black clouds arrived, hovering above my small courtyard. Within the swirling layers of clouds, an old man in crimson robes, with a gaunt frame and a face resembling a demonic spirit, emerged. He was none other than the supreme elder of the Black Fire sect, the Qian ancestor. The gaze of the Qian ancestor swept over the scene below like a razor-sharp blade. When his eyes fell upon the spirit fields within my courtyard, his pupils suddenly contracted. He saw them. He saw his 2 long-lost martial nephews, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan. At this moment, those who had once been imposing foundation establishment elders in his mind were dressed in coarse, patched linen garments, one wielding a hoe and the other carrying a water bucket, drenched in sweat, tilling the fields. Their movements were so proficient, their expressions so resigned. An indescribable heaven-shaking inferno of rage erupted from the Qian ancestor. In this fleeting moment, the temperature of the entire Qingyang city seemed to rise by several dozen degrees. You wretched brat, how dare you humiliate my people? The Qian ancestor spat out every word, his voice thundering across the heavens and earth. He glared at me as I lay upon the rocking chair, the killing intent in his eyes coalescing into physical form. He raised a withered hand, and within his palm a crimson-black flame surged wildly. Die for this seat. He thrust his palm forward, and that crimson-black flame instantly transformed into a colossal heaven-covering fire hand, carrying the terrifying power to scorch mountains and boil the seas, ferociously descending upon my courtyard. A single strike from a golden core stage powerhouse. This blow was enough to level half of Qingyang City. Li Tiangong and the others closed their eyes in despair. Yet I merely let out a yawn. Qingyan, close the courtyard gate for me. It is too windy outside. Do not let it blow in on me. As you wish, master. Although Liu Qingyan was tense, she possessed a blind, unwavering trust in me. She walked to the gate and, amidst the incredulous gazes of the crowd, slowly closed the seemingly ordinary wooden doors. At the very moment the courtyard gates shut, a colossal palm of fire, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, came crashing down. The fiery palm, imbued with the earth-shattering might of a golden core stage cultivator, descended with brutal force. Li Tiangong and the others could already feel a terrifying heat, intense enough to vaporize them in an instant. Everyone's face turned as pale as ash, their hearts filled with nothing but boundless regret. They regretted staying behind merely to watch the spectacle. However, the cataclysmic destruction they envisioned did not come to pass. Just as the hand of fire was about to make contact with the humble little courtyard, a layer of pure platinum radiance, as clear as glazed jade, erupted from the courtyard walls, forming a semicircular shield that enveloped the entire compound. The fiery palm struck directly against that thin, shimmering veil. An earth-shaking explosion echoed for 100 miles. A shockwave of terrifying energy, like a Category 12 typhoon, swept out from the point of impact. Outside the courtyard, the spectating cultivators were blown away like fallen leaves in a storm. Those with weaker cultivation levels vomited blood and were knocked unconscious on the spot. Li Tiangong, Chen Tinxiong, and a group of Foundation establishment experts had to exhaust their full strength, sacrificing their magical artifacts just to barely maintain their footing amidst the shockwave. Yet, everyone was in a disheveled and miserable state. Their internal energy surged violently, and as the dust began to settle, the crowd lifted their heads in absolute terror, only to see that the palm of fire had vanished without a trace. The humble little courtyard, protected by that seemingly fragile platinum shield, remained completely unscathed. Not only was it not destroyed, but not a single roof tile had even shifted from the walls. No, this is impossible. High in the air, the raspy voice of the Qian old ancestor betrayed, for the first time, a sense of shock and disbelief. He stared fixedly at that platinum radiance, sensing an aura of supreme, holy, and majestic power emanating from it. It was an inviolable aura, akin to the heavenly Tao itself, and it stirred massive waves of alarm within his heart. What kind of formation was this? He had roamed the northern region for hundreds of years, yet he had never seen nor heard of anything like it. How could any formation so effortlessly withstand a full-powered strike from a golden core ancestor? This had completely transcended his understanding of the Tao of formations. Just as he was gripped by astonishment, the courtyard gate, I remained reclined on the rocking chair, having merely signaled for the others to retreat indoors. A steaming cup of spirit tea now held in my hand. I blew gently on the tea, took a sip, and only then raised my eyes to look at the ghastly green-faced monster hovering in the sky. I say, old man. My voice was not loud, yet it resonated clearly in the ears of everyone present. You are of such advanced age, yet your temper remains so volatile, causing such a commotion right in front of my door. What if you damage my flowers and grass? Even if you don't break anything, you have frightened my tenants and impacted my rental income. Can you afford to compensate for such a loss? My tone was that of a man scolding an ignorant child for setting off firecrackers indiscriminately. The entire scene fell deathly silent. Everyone stared at me as if I were a deity. Is this youth truly speaking to a golden core stage ancestor? Does he not know how the word death is written? Even Lu Qingyan and Lin Chang broke out in a cold sweat on my behalf. The expression of the Qian ancestor had turned so dark it seemed as though ink would drip from it. He has lived for 500 years. Never before has anyone dared to speak to him in such a tone. Good, very good. He laughed in his fury. Truly a brat who knows not the height of the sky nor the depth of the earth. I wish to see how long this turtle shell of yours can protect you. Having said this, he opened his mouth and spat out a flying sword, its entire body wreathed in black demonic flames. Upon catching the wind, it expanded into a black fire dragon 100 feet in length. It struck savagely once more toward my courtyard. This artifact was his life-bound spirit treasure, possessing power several times greater than the giant flame hand from before. However, I did not even bother to lift an eyelid. System initiate counter-attack mode. Clang, high-intensity malicious attack detected. The property's legitimate defense system engaged, opening the counter-attack mode, as the platinum-colored shield suddenly shone with brilliance. At the very moment the black fire dragon was about to strike the shield, the entire surface of the barrier suddenly became smooth as a mirror. The black fire dragon crashed into the mirror's surface, yet it emitted no sound, as if it were sinking into the deep sea. But in the next second, that mirror-smooth surface suddenly vibrated. The 100-foot-long black fire dragon was repelled, launched back fully intact at a speed even faster than its approach. Its trajectory aimed straight at the stunned Qian ancestor floating in the air. What? The Qian ancestor's face drained of color in sheer terror. He could never have imagined that his own life-bound spirit treasure would be reflected back by the opponent's formation. This sudden turn of events occurred too quickly, so fast that he could not mount a perfect defense, and he could only scramble to set up layer after layer of barriers before him. The black fire dragon struck him head-on. Following a deafening explosion, the figure of old ancestor Qian was sent flying like a kite with a snapped string, struggling to stabilize himself in midair, scattering a brilliant, jarring spray of blood across the sky. He was propelled several hundred yards before he could barely regain his balance, his complexion as pale as parchment, a trail of fresh blood staining the corner of his mouth. The gaze he leveled at me, once filled with indignation and contempt, had transformed into one of absolute terror and apprehension. He had lost in a way that defied reason, lost in a way that was utterly infuriating. He hadn't even managed to touch the hem of his opponent's robes. I set down my teacup, rose from the rocking chair, walked leisurely to the courtyard gate, looked at him, and spoke calmly. Now, can we sit down and discuss the matter of compensation? Your 2 disciples are currently undergoing hard labor at my estate. They have ruined the feng shui of several acres of my spiritual fields, causing economic losses that cannot be calculated. Your 2 attacks just now caused severe mental distress to myself, as well as to my potential clients. You have cost me several major business deals. I began to count on my fingers, my expression grave and focused. How about this? I shall settle for 100,000 high-grade spirit stones, or perhaps the land deeds to 1/3 of all the spirit mountain mines held under the name of your Black Fire sect. Hand them over, and you may take those 2 useless disciples of yours back. Otherwise, they shall remain here to watch over my property for the rest of their lives, until their debt is paid in full. My voice echoed across the silent skies of Qingyang City. Everyone present was struck dumb. Extortion, this was blatant, daylight extortion. And the target of this extortion was a golden core stage old ancestor. The world had truly gone mad. 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. Upon hearing this figure, old ancestor Qian nearly vomited another mouthful of blood. High-grade spirit stones. What kind of concept was that? A single high-grade spirit stone is equivalent to 100 medium-grade spirit stones, or 10,000 low-grade spirit stones. 100,000 high-grade spirit stones is exactly 1 billion low-grade spirit stones. Even sling the entire Black Fire sect would not amount to 1/10 of this sum. Miss Brat was not merely extorting him, he was driving the Black Fire sect to its demise. As for the second option, the land deeds to 1/3 of all spirit mountain mines, that would shake the very foundations of the sect. It was even more insufferable than death itself. Boy, do not push your luck too far. Old ancestor Qian roared, his voice hoarse, masking his inner cowardice with an outer display of bravado. Pushing my luck? I find that laughable. A hint of cold mockery surfaced within my smile. Who was it that arrived and, without regard for right or wrong, immediately sought to kill? Who was it that relied on a mere sliver of cultivation to treat the million lives of my Qingyang city as nothing more than insects? I have always been a reasonable man. If you respect me by a foot, I shall respect you by a yard. If you dare to dismantle the eaves of my house, I dare to level your entire sect. My voice was as firm as tempered steel, every syllable striking the heart of old ancestor Qian like a heavy hammer. He fell silent, realizing he had encountered a formidable force today. He was defeated by this inscrutable youth and this terrifying, destructive formation. His thoughts no longer dwelled on vengeance, but rather on how to escape while paying the smallest possible price. To break out of this place by force was clearly impossible. To continue fighting would only result in his own ruin. He glanced at his two grand disciples still standing dazed in the field, his heart filled with extreme resentment. It was not worth jeopardizing the future of his sect for two useless fools. Yet, if he were to retreat in disgrace, the reputation of an esteemed Golden Core ancestor of the Black Fire sect would be utterly destroyed. After weighing the pros and cons, he drew a deep breath and made a truly difficult decision. I do not have high-grade spirit stones. His voice seemed to age a decade in an instant, but I can offer something else as compensation. Oh, you have piqued my interest. Listen well. My Black Fire sect occupies a Deshayan fire vein within Black Wind Abyss, which is the perfect location for refining demonic artifacts and cultivating fire elemental demonic arts. Old Ancestor Qian spoke slowly. I can yield that fire vein to you, along with the Black Rock Mountain where it is situated. I have the authority to transfer the land deed and the documentation to you immediately. As soon as these words were spoken, Li Tianchong and the others behind me gasped in shock. The Deshayan fire vein of Black Rock Mountain was one of the very foundations upon which the Black Fire sect was built. To save his own life, this old demon was actually willing to gamble his entire livelihood. Even I felt a ripple of interest. The Deshayan fire vein was truly a treasure. Although my estate already possessed spirit fields, spiritual dwellings, and an alchemy chamber, their attributes were all oriented toward balance and harmony. If I could acquire an asset, not only can it be used to develop new leasing projects, attracting those cultivators who practice specialized techniques, it can also further diversify the portfolio of my real estate empire. With yin and yang complementing each other, who knows what new system features might be activated. To offer a single fire vein in exchange for 2 foundation establishment cultivators, and then expect to extinguish my wrath. I feigned a look of disdain and curled my lip. Old man, your calculations are far too cunning. Qian Laozu's face twitched violently as he gritted his teeth. That Black Rock Mountain and its 100-mile radius are all properties of my Black Flame sect. I will give it all to you, and on top of that, this seat will compensate you with another 3,000 high-grade spirit stones. This is the absolute limit of what I can offer. If you still refuse, then we shall simply be like a fish dying while the net tears. Even if I must risk my soul shattering to pieces, I will make your Qingyang city flow with blood. He was employing both threats and appeasement simultaneously. I stroked my chin, calculating internally that it is best to stop while ahead. Pressing someone too far leads to ruin. Pushing this to the bitter end holds no benefit for me. A spiritual mountain with a 100-mile radius, plus a rare earth-slaying fire vein, and 3,000 high-grade spirit stones as compensation for my emotional distress. This deal is extremely profitable. Very well. I nodded, feigning reluctance as I agreed. Given your sincerity, I shall take a slight loss and agree to your terms. Payment and delivery shall be made simultaneously. Upon hearing this, Qian Laozu felt as if he had been granted an amnesty, his heart finally sighing with relief. He immediately dispatched a transmission talisman, ordering the sect to speed over with the land deeds and the spirit stones for Black Rock Mountain. Half an hour later, the sect master of the Black Flame sect arrived personally in Qingyang City, carrying a storage bag and a thick scroll of beast-hide land deeds, trembling as he approached. When he saw his sect's ancestor, the corners of whose mouth were still stained with blood and whose expression was one of grievance, while the legendary youth sat unharmed upon a rocking chair, his worldview completely collapsed. After inspecting the goods and confirming there were no issues, I nodded in satisfaction. Ding, congratulations to the host for acquiring the new property, Black Rock Mountain, including the earth-slaying Yin Fire Vein. Property grade, demonic land. One category for potential development is building a cultivation ground for demonic arts, providing yin energy-rich environments for higher to demonic or wicked cultivators. Karma points increased by 5,000. The system detects that the host has successfully reached a commercial agreement with a Golden Core stage cultivator and received substantial compensation. The host's reputation as a landlord has increased significantly. Reward. Special architectural blueprint for the dragon binding well. An unexpected delight. I put away the property deed, then turned toward the fields and shouted, Zhao Wuji Mayuan, you two may finish your shift. Your families have come to collect you. Upon hearing these words, which sounded like heaven to their ears, the two men threw down their farming tools, tears streaming down their faces in excitement, and scrambled toward the exit. Zhu took his 2 lost disciples, whom he had finally recovered, and with a heart dripping with blood, not wishing to stay a moment longer, transformed into a streak of black light and fled in a sorry state toward the horizon. A crisis capable of overturning the entire landscape of Qingyang City was thus resolved peacefully in a way no one could have anticipated. And from this day forward, the name Chen Fan will, quite literally, echo throughout the entire northern region. People no longer refer to me as the mysterious expert of Qingyang City, but have bestowed upon me a title more intimate and far more respectful, Master of Real Estate. The crisis has been averted, so it is time for me to attend to my primary business. I turned my head to look at the one who had witnessed the entire ordeal, and had fallen into a state of complete stupor. Ling Chang, Fairy Ling Chang, I have kept you waiting for a long time. Now, may finally discuss our partnership regarding the soul-nurturing elixir and the green bamboo essence. Ling Chang was pulled back to reality by my words. She looked at me, her expression complex to the extreme. Shock, astonishment, and utter disbelief. A myriad of emotions intertwined, leaving her mind a complete blank. She had originally thought that my ability to suppress 2 Foundation establishment cultivators earlier meant I was merely a hidden expert concealing my true strength, but she never could have imagined that I could so easily repel a golden core stage-old monster, and even go so far as to extort a massive fortune from him. This could no longer be described simply as the work of an expert. These were the means of a deity. Only now did she realize that when I negotiated with her earlier, asking for that fragment of green bamboo essence was not me acting with unreasonable greed. It was quite simply an act of grace. Master Chen Ling Cheng's voice carried a tremor that was difficult to conceal. Senior, I have already reported this matter to my sect. My master and the sect leader have both agreed to your conditions. Having said this, she carefully retrieved from her storage bag a land deed inscribed on a Than Ngok bamboo slip and a storage bag brimming with rare medicinal herbs. This is the land deed for Thon Truck Slope, bearing the official seal of our Thon Truck Sword sect. Contained within this bag are all the ingredients required to refine the soul-nourishing elixir. We have prepared 5 sets for each type of ingredient. Her attitude was exceptionally humble, filled with profound respect. I accepted the land deed in the storage bag, swept my divine sense across them, and nodded in satisfaction. The Than Truc Sword sect was truly far more sincere than the Hack Ho sect. Ding. The first stage of the Epic Quest series, Acquire the Than Truc Slope land deed, has been completed. Quest reward. 100,000 accumulation points added. System shop has undergone a comprehensive upgrade. Special architectural blueprint. Interworld teleportation array has been added to your inventory. It had finally arrived. A wave of intense joy surged within me. 100,000 accumulation points. I can conduct a massive upgrade this time, and there is also that interworld teleportation array. This is the core technology I need to realize my dream of collecting rent from real estate properties across the entire world. I suppressed the excitement rising within my heart and said to Long Shuang, "Very good. I have received the ingredients. I am also very satisfied with the land deed. Go back and tell your master. Tell him to rest assured and wait for 3 days. The soul-nourishing elixir will certainly be delivered." Many thanks, Master Tran. Langshung was so moved she was on the verge of tears, bowing deeply toward me. This great debt of gratitude for saving our sect will never be forgotten by the Than Truc Sword sect. You are being too polite, I said, waving my hand. Ours was a fair transaction. In the future, when I develop real estate within the territory of Than Truc Sword sect, I hope you will provide me with your full support. Absolutely, it shall be done. Langshuang nodded repeatedly. After seeing Langshuang off, I immediately instructed Liu Tonhin to hang the temporarily closed sign, lock the gates, and entered the system. Over 170,000 accumulation points, a fortune like never before. Without a moment's hesitation, system, consume 5,000 karma points to upgrade the refined grade cave dwelling into a perfect blessed land. System, consume 3,000 karma points to upgrade the mid-grade spirit field into a high-grade immortal field. System, consume 3,000 karma points to upgrade the primary alchemy room into an intermediate grade alchemical pavilion. After a series of confirmations, my karma points were immediately depleted, but the very next second, the entire courtyard underwent a heaven-defying transformation. The ground trembled slightly as the entire courtyard expanded tenfold under a white gold radiance, the original spirit field transforming into an endless immortal herb garden. Amidst the brilliant, light and auspicious vapors, countless rare spirit herb seeds took root and sprouted on their own. The alchemy room to the west also rose from the ground, morphing into an exquisite 3-story pavilion. Upon its signboard were 3 large, calligraphy-styled characters, Alchemical Pavilion. Wisps of pure alchemy principles swirled around the pavilion, and the concentration of spirit energy within the entire courtyard rose to an unbelievable level. It had nearly condensed into viscous spirit liquid, drifting through the air. System, perfect blessed land upgrade complete. Spirit energy concentration increased by 500 defensive array power bolstered to resist nascent soul stage cultivators. High-grade immortal field upgrade complete. You may now cultivate all spirit herbs of the 6th rank and below, with growth cycles reduced by 90%. System. Intermediate grade alchemical pavilion upgrade complete. Success rate for refining 6th rank elixirs and below increased by 50%. There is a high probability of producing supreme grade elixirs with pill patterns. I gazed at the scene before me, which resembled a celestial paradise. I smiled with satisfaction. This is truly worthy of my status as the master of real estate. Next, I turned my attention to the 2 newly acquired architectural blueprints. Dragon Locking Well, a special structure that can be built upon a spirit vein or earth vein to suppress, extract, and refine energy from the vein. It can also imprison powerful living beings, converting their strength into the purest primordial spirit energy to nourish the territory. Remnant Interrealm Teleportation Array, a special structure that establishes an array capable of ultra-long distance spatial teleportation. It is currently a 1-3 incomplete blueprint. The 2 remaining fragments must be collected to unlock the full construction list. Required material crystals. Star God Secret Silver, 9 Heaven-breathing soil. The Dragon Locking Well is practically custom designed for my new property, Black Rock Mountain. By constructing this well atop the earthly yin fire vein, I will be able to continuously extract the purest earthly yin fire. Whether used for weapon refining or leased to demonic cultivators for their own practice, it is a business venture with endless profit. As for the teleportation array, although it is incomplete, it has already charted the course for my future development. My real estate empire is destined to expand beyond the northern region and encompass the entire cultivation continent. Mr. Fang, the voice of Gu Chen, pulled me from my pleasant daydreams. At this moment, he stood at the entrance of the alchemical pavilion, trembling with excitement as he stared at the pristine structure, as if gazing upon a peerless beauty. Mr. This is truly a holy land of alchemy. Very well, enough lamenting, I said, handing him the pill formula and the materials for the soul-nurturing pill. I give you 3 days to refine this elixir for me. If you require anything, speak directly to the young man. Understood, Mr. Fang. I guarantee I shall complete the task. Gu Chen accepted the items and promptly sequestered himself within the Baodan pavilion, refusing to step out. 3 days later, the sky above the pavilion was once again suffused with purple clouds, and a myriad of auspicious rays illuminated the heavens as a supreme soul-nourishing pill, marked with 3 pill patterns, was successfully refined. As Ling Chang departed, offering countless expressions of gratitude while clutching the elixir, my real estate empire officially entered its golden age of expansion. Nay, cultivators across the entire northern region had gone mad. Countless rogue cultivators, noble families, and sects sent envoys bearing heavy tributes to the residents of yours truly, the master of real estate. They came not to beg for elixirs, nor to seek discipleship, but solely to secure a rental property. They wished to lease a patch of land to cultivate their own herbs. They wished to lease a chamber to meditate and refine their internal energy. They even wished to lease a simple prayer mat in the courtyard, just to sit in silence. Because everyone had realized that my domain was no longer a mere cave dwelling, but a genuine blessed land of heaven and earth. It was a supreme holy ground capable of altering one's very destiny. My rental income began to soar exponentially, and my cultivation base, while I lay idle collecting rent, advanced with unstoppable momentum. Foundation establishment mid-stage, then late stage, all achieved with ease, natural and without a single obstacle. Time flowed like a rushing river. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Mortals. 10 years represents an entire lifetime, but to a cultivator, it is merely the duration of a single brief period of seclusion. Yet, for the entire northern region cultivation world, these 10 years were a decade of earth-shattering change. And at the epicenter of this transformation was the mysterious residence in the east of Qingyang City, revered as the #1 blessed land. The title of Master of Real Estate had become known to all. No one was unaware of my name. My celestial leasing conglomerate had evolved into the most unique and transcendent force in the northern region. I took no part in any conflicts, nor did I vie for any worldly resources. I focused solely on the progression of my real estate enterprise. Over these years, through various collaborations, rentals, and bartering, I had amassed great wealth, bringing dozens of blessed lands, land deeds for spirit mountains, and mineral veins across the northern region into my possession. The Black Fire sect had long since been eclipsed, and most of their former territory now bore the surname Chen. Meanwhile, the Green Bamboo Sword sect, through their deep partnership with me, had ascended to become the premier sect of the northern region. From the sect leader down to the disciples, all took pride in being my strategic partners. My business empire continues to expand, and the caliber of my tenants grows ever higher. From the lowly chi-refining rogue cultivators of the past to the formidable foundation establishment experts of later years, and now even golden core masters must queue up, clutching their numbered tokens, waiting for me to approve their leases. My head steward, Lu Qinyan, has undergone a complete transformation over these past 10 years, living year-round within this perfect blessed land, breathing in spirit essence, and consuming immortal fruits, all while supported by the vast resources I provide. She is now a golden character of peerless grace, with a cultivation base that even surpasses the lord of Qingyang City, Li Tiangong. She manages my leasing conglomerate with impeccable precision, acting as my representative to the outside world, and serving as the ethereal goddess within the hearts of countless cultivators. As for myself, the architect of all these wonders, I have become even more lethargic than before. My daily routine remains resting upon the swinging chair in my courtyard, a piece of furniture nourished by endless spiritual energy, to the point of nearly becoming an immortal artifact, sipping tea while listening to music. Occasionally, I listen to business reports from Lu Qingyan, and my own cultivation, fueled by the relentless influx of rent money and spiritual energy, smoothly coalesced into a golden core, advancing steadily ever since. I have now reached the late stage of the golden core realm. I am but a single step away from the nascent soul realm. All of this unfolded naturally, almost mundanely. I have not even once had to strike a blow against anyone in earnest, for quite simply, no one dares. Everyone knows that within my territory I am invincible, and as it happens, the entire northern region is my territory. This life of simple, rustic, yet invincible boredom sometimes leaves me feeling somewhat aimless. Is my path to immortality truly destined to be spent merely lying here until I ascend? Then on that very day, an unforeseen event occurred. Within the courtyard, one of my earliest tenants, a rogue cultivator who rented my cheapest spirit shack, known as Old Man Zhang, found his lifespan reaching its end. Old Man Zhang was among the very first to rent from me. Possessing only mediocre talent, his life had been one of constant hardship. Having cultivated to the 7th level of qi refining, he could progress no further. Years ago, he exhausted his entire life savings just to rent a small shack on my property, not to cultivate, but simply to experience a breath of a blessed immortal land before he perished, and perhaps so that upon his death, he might dissolve. For these past 10 years, he had never caused a single disturbance. Every day, he simply swept his quarters, watered the small patch of grass in his spirit garden, and paid his rent on time, living exactly like an ordinary mortal. In time, everyone had all but forgotten him. That day, I felt the flame of his life grow weak to the point of extinction, flickering as if it might vanish at any moment. Lu Qingyan noticed it as well. She walked to my side and asked in a low voice, "Sir, Old Man Zhang, should we do something?" I shook my head with a sigh. Life and death have their own destiny, and the cycle of the heavenly Tao cannot be interfered with. Yet, at the very moment Old Man Zhang's life force was on the verge of fading, a sudden anomaly occurred. Above his humble spirit dwelling, the clouds shifted and the winds churned. An endless torrent of spiritual energy formed a colossal vortex, rushing madly into his home. An ancient sorrowful aura, one that had looked through the mysteries of life and death, emanated from within the house. The wither and the flourish, life and death. So that is how it is. This old man has finally understood. The aged, fragile voice of Old Man Zhang suddenly transformed, becoming resounding and overflowing with vitality. A formidable aura soared from the house straight into the heavens. It was the unmistakable presence of a golden core. In the final moments of his life, the nameless old man who had never fought for anything had achieved enlightenment within my courtyard. By seeing through the cycle of reincarnation, he took a single step to the heavens, ascending directly from the 7th level of qi refining to form a golden core. Furthermore, the golden core he manifested was no ordinary one. It bore a trace of the profound, miraculous Tao of wither and flourish. Every tent in the courtyard, including the golden core masters who had been in seclusion, was startled by the commotion. They rushed out of their dwellings, staring at the small house bathed in golden light, each of them stunned and filled with disbelief. Achieving golden core in a single moment of enlightenment amidst the woods. Heavens, how could someone like this be living here? This place truly has the power to change one's destiny. In that instant, the eyes of all the tenants turned toward my courtyard with newfound fervor and reverence. This place was no longer merely a blessed land. It was a divine realm capable of creating miracles. Old Man Zhang, he should be addressed as true person Zhang now. He stepped out from his house, his appearance completely rejuvenated, transformed into a man in his prime, brimming with spirit. He walked before me and performed a grand Taoist salute, the most standard and solemn of gestures. Zhang Daoshuan offers his gratitude for your enlightenment, sir. If not for this patch of tranquil land you provided, Daoshuan would have long since turned into a handful of yellow earth. This grace is no less than a rebirth. I looked at him and shook my head, signaling him to rise. I had offered him no enlightenment, I had merely rented him a house. Yet, his epiphany struck like a bolt of lightning, shattering the lingering fog within my heart. I too have suddenly attained enlightenment. Zhang Daoshuan's epiphany acted like a pebble cast into the tranquil lake of my mind, stirring up 1,000 ripples. And I looked at him, observing how the flow of his Tao, a harmony of flourishing and withering, merged seamlessly with the natural world. And then I turned my gaze toward my own golden core. My golden core, forged from a vast quantity of flawless spiritual energy, appeared perfect, yet it seemed to be lacking something essential. I believe I finally understand. I had always assumed that my path of cultivation was merely about collecting rent. collecting rent in exchange for spiritual energy, a method to increase my cultivation base that was simple, crude, and effective. But now I realize I have been mistaken. Or perhaps I had only seen the surface. Collecting rent was merely an action, a result. But what of its essence? What is its Tao? Why do I collect rent? Because I possess real estate. And why am I able to possess such property? Because I have established order. I waved my hand, signaling everyone to withdraw. The courtyard returned to silence once more. I did not return to my rocking chair, but instead stood at the center of this perfect blessed land. Closing my eyes, my divine sense expanded infinitely. I could feel the breath of every spiritual herb within the high-grade immortal field. From the moment their roots sprouted to the moment they matured, and eventually flowered and bore fruit. This is a complete cycle of life. This is flourishing. I sensed the roar of the subterranean earth fire vein beneath the dragon-locking realm. It was brimming with the power of destruction and finality. The decay of all things is withering. I felt old Chen in the pill pavilion, refining a furnace of medicinal elixirs. He merged various herbs of conflicting natures into a miraculous balance, creating existence from nothing, turning the mundane into the extraordinary. This is creation. I felt Lu Qingyan. She was meticulously organizing the ledgers for the entire rental conglomerate. Every payment of rent collected, and every portion of resources allocated, followed the rules I had established. This is order. I even sensed the two men I had appointed as the Vajra guardians of the estate, Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan. For 10 years they have tended to this land as if it were a single day. As the aggression and resentment within their hearts were long ago dissolved by the harmony of this soil. Their Tao hearts, in turn, have become purer and more resolute than ever before. This is purification and protection. Leasing, signing contracts, collecting rent. This series of processes appears to be a mere commercial act, but its essence is a spiritual covenant. The tenants and I have established a binding agreement. I provide them with a safe, stable environment, abundant with fortuitous opportunities. In return, they use the form of rent to provide the energy required to maintain the order of this environment. Is this not a microcosm of the heavenly Tao's cycle? As the master of this land, I am the heavenly Tao of this miniature cycle. I establish the rules that all things must follow. I have no need to personally descend into battle, nor to plunder. I need only maintain the operation of this order so that all things may grow freely. They evolve freely, and from their growth and their achievements, a portion is naturally returned to me in the form of taxes. This heavenly Tao lying dormant laziness. Collecting rent is not exploitation. The Tao I walk is the Tao of the sovereign who governs through inaction. The Tao of creation and the establishment of order. As I grasped all of this in an instant, my state of mind suddenly expanded. Within my body, the late-stage golden core began to spin frantically, emitting a brilliant, blinding radiance. The surface of the golden core was no longer smooth. Intricate images began to manifest upon it. There were immortal fields and herb gardens, pavilions and grand halls, and tenants cultivating, living, and experiencing epiphanies. My golden core was evolving, transforming into a miniature world identical to this perfect blessed land of mine. My aura began to surge uncontrollably. The golden core reached perfection, and the bottleneck shattered in an instant. A force 100 times more powerful than that of the golden core stage, the aura of the nascent soul, soared from my body straight into the heavens. This time there were no strange atmospheric phenomena, no auspicious clouds spanning 10,000 zhang. There was only an aura, vast and majestic as a sovereign of heaven and earth, enveloping the entire courtyard. Behind me, a nascent soul, the spitting image of myself, yet radiating the luster of glazed treasure light, appeared, standing 3 inches tall. This nascent soul did not sit cross-legged in meditation. Instead, it mimicked my own posture. It lazily upon a rocking chair. In my hand, I held a book forged from the very laws of heaven and earth, the Compendium of Terrestrial Qi. Today, I, Chen Fan, form my nascent soul with the aptitude of a master, bearing witness to the great Tao of Wu Wei. I opened my eyes to look at my hands, sensing a heaven-shaking power surging within my body, a sincere smile blooming upon my face. So this is how simple and unadorned true invincibility feels. It was at this very moment that the system's notification rang frantically within my mind. Ding. Congratulations to the host for comprehending your own great Tao, successfully advancing to the nascent soul stage. System privileges unlocked. The real estate empire system has officially upgraded to the heavenly Tao small world system. All of the host properties will automatically integrate, forming a heavenly Tao domain. Within this domain, your words are the law. A single thought determines life and death. Reward granted. Interdimensional teleportation array fragment. After advancing to the nascent soul stage and grasping the great Tao, my life seemed to return to its original trajectory. Yet everything had fundamentally changed. My state of mind reached a level of balance and transcendence like never before. I no longer deliberately pursued the growth of my cultivation base. For I knew that as long as my real estate empire remained operational, and as long as my tenants continued to live and cultivate under the order I had established, my power would grow incessantly of its own accord. I dedicated more time to the construction of this world. Utilizing the newly acquired system privileges, I began to merge all the properties under my name: the ancestral home in Qingyang City, the Spirit Mine Mountain in the south, the Black Rock Mountain of the Black Flame sect, and the Green Bamboo Slope of the Green Bamboo Sword sect. These properties, once scattered across the northern region, were now tightly bound together by an invisible chain of laws, facilitated by the Heavenly Dao Small World System. Together, they formed my personal Heavenly Dao domain. Within this domain, I am the sole sovereign. The newly acquired interdimensional teleportation array fragment also revealed to me the possibility of expanding my domain to even more distant lands. Only one final fragment remains. I rested upon my rocking chair, gazing at the two fragments pulsing with spatial fluctuations within the system storage. A flicker of anticipation stirred in my heart. This anticipation did not force me to wait long. 1 year later, a special guest arrived at my doorstep, introduced by the Green Bamboo Sword sect. They were a peerless grandmaster from the distant Central Plains continent, possessing a cultivation base that had reached the soul formation stage. This great cultivator's lifespan was nearing its end, and he had traveled across the world in search of a breakthrough. Upon hearing the legends of the master of real estate in the northern region, he journeyed here specifically, hoping to lease a place where he could cultivate in peace, to transcend the barrier of life and death, and to find a place for his final years. Toward a customer of such elite standing, I was naturally welcoming, yet my perfect blessed lands had few vacancies remaining. Every single spot was highly sought after. We sat down tea. I sat across from him, savoring the spirit tea, with a demeanor that was neither arrogant nor servile. You are already aware of my rules here, I said. All accommodations require one to queue and draw lots. Though you are a soul transformation stage expert, you cannot cut the line or bypass the rules. That soul transformation expert was an elderly man with snow-white hair, possessing the graceful air of a true immortal. Upon hearing this, he did not flare with anger. Instead, he stroked his beard and laughed. I naturally understand the rules you have set, little friend. I did not come here to rely on my strength to bully the weak. I am aware that you seem to be collecting blueprints for an interdimensional teleportation array. He looked at me, a glimmer of golden light flashing in his eyes. Coincidentally, many years ago, while exploring an ancient ruin, I obtained a fragment of such a map. I wonder if I might exchange this item for priority access to a residence. With that, he produced a scroll of animal hide that appeared ancient beyond measure. My heart trembled, yet I maintained a composed expression, revealing nothing. Oh, so the senior possesses such an item? Might I be permitted to examine it? The old man handed over the scroll, and I took it. My divine scent swept over it. Ding! A fragment of the interdimensional teleportation array has been detected. Shall you proceed with the synthesis? Success. I suppressed the immense joy within me, maintaining a look that suggested the item was valuable, yet nothing extraordinary. It is indeed authentic. I nodded slowly. Since you have shown such sincerity, the rules are not entirely inflexible. Very well. In my courtyard there is a dragon-locking well. Beside it lies a plot of vacant land with decent scenery, though the sinister energy there is somewhat dense. I see that you possess an aura of righteous energy. It would be fitting for you to experience the harmony of yin and yang there. Consider this map as the 100-year rent you have paid in advance. Excellent. The elder stroked his beard and laughed heartily, clearly satisfied with this outcome. Thus, a mutually beneficial transaction was concluded. After bidding farewell to this guest at the spirit transformation stage, I immediately entered the synthesis system. The 3 map fragments were finally complete. The complete blueprint for the cross-realm teleportation formation was successfully synthesized. The construction material list unlocked: 9 heaven soil, spirit silver, and the space core crystal. Looking at the long list of materials, I did not feel burdened. On the contrary, I was filled with enthusiasm. Over the past few years, through my network of tenants, I had already gathered the vast majority of these rare materials. The only missing component was the core of the main array, the space core crystal. Young man, I called out, or rather, sir. The figure of Lu Qingyan appeared silently beside me, helping me issue a bounty reward. I declared, I, the master of real estate, will exchange a permanent residence permit for an independent immortal cave within the perfect blessed land, in return for a space core crystal the size of a fist. This bounty, spread through my tenant network, swept across the cultivation world with astonishing speed. In an instant, the 4 corners of the world were shaken by these words: permanent residence permit. To any cultivator, these 5 words represented a supreme opportunity to ascend to the heavens in a single step. Countless cultivators began a frantic search for the trace of the space core crystal, all for the sake of this ethereal reward. 3 months later, an unexpected person arrived with the item I required. Appearing before me was Ling Shuang. She had now reached the nascent soul stage as a sword cultivator, her presence even more imposing than before. She presented a crystal the size of a fist, sparkling with a brilliant silver light, within which it seemed as if a galaxy were swirling. Master Chen, this item was discovered within an ancient sword tomb. I hope it proves useful to you. I looked at her, then shifted my gaze to the sect master of the Green Bamboo Sword sect standing behind her. That Golden Core Grandmaster had long since recovered his health, and his cultivation base had even made significant progress. I smiled and said, "Good. I shall accept this crystal. In return, as a reward, your Green Bamboo Sword sect shall henceforth be a diamond-tier strategic partner of my Bao Corporation. For all newly launched projects, you shall have priority acquisition rights." With the materials assembled, I immediately began the construction of the teleportation formation. Under the assistance of the Heavenly Tao Small World System, a massive, intricate silver formation, engraved with profound spatial law runes, slowly took shape in the center of my courtyard. The first coordinate I chose, Thentruk Ferry. With the full cooperation of the Thentruk Swords sect, a minor teleportation array was swiftly constructed. On the day the formation was completed, I stood at the heart of the central array, and turned to look back at Liu Qingyan, and Dao Huan, and even Zhao Wuji and Ma Yuan stood nearby. Their eyes were filled with anticipation and excitement. "Sir, safe travels." Liu Qingyan whispered softly. I smiled and nodded at her before activating the formation. A silver radiance instantly consumed me. After the shifting of stars and the transformation of space as the light faded, I stood upon a bamboo ferry tens of thousands of miles away. Beneath my feet lay familiar earth, and before my eyes stretched a boundless verdant sea of bamboo. Success. From this day forward, my real estate empire officially enters a new era of cross-realm commerce. Gazing upon this vast, vibrant land, a heroic spirit surged within me. The system provided me with a set of blueprints for luxury coastal immortal villas, 100 new units to be constructed, with a 20% discount for internal purchases. In the world of cultivators, time is simultaneously the most worthless and the most precious commodity. I know not how many winters and summers passed until I once again awoke from a brief slumber. This world had long since undergone a Songhai Santian. My immortal landlord corporation had evolved into a behemoth spanning multiple continents, even connecting to several fragmented minor worlds. My real estate holdings had permeated every corner of the cultivation world. From bustling immortal cities to desolate demonic domains, from dragon palaces in the deep sea to cities floating high above the 9 heavens. Wherever spiritual energy flows, my projects exist. Wherever cultivators gather, my tenants are found. The cross-realm teleportation arrays have long since woven a web, tightly binding my massive real estate empire together. As for me, Chen Fan, Lord of Real Estate, Landlord of the Myriad Worlds, the Immortal of Absolute Ease. The world has bestowed many titles upon me, yet they remain ignorant of my true cultivation level. This is because it has been a very, very long time since I last took action myself. My name has become synonymous with order and discipline. No one dares to cause trouble on my territory, nor does anyone dare to delay the rent payments of my empire. Under the perfect and rigorous system I established long ago, it operates and flourishes of its own accord. As for me, I have finally achieved my initial and ultimate dream. In the eastern part of Qingyang City, that humble courtyard has now become a sacred site known to all in the cultivation world. It is enveloped by a layer of chaotic light invisible to the common eye, forming a realm unto itself, independent of time and space. In the courtyard, I remained reclined upon my rocking chair, a piece of furniture whose original material was no longer discernible, swaying gently to and fro. Beside the chair stood Liu Qingyan, adorned in robes of white, her elegance truly unparalleled. She was no longer the young housekeeper of years past, but the CEO of the Heavenly Tao, overseeing the entirety of the Baozu conglomerate. Yet, in this moment, she appeared as the most ordinary of wives, using her jade-like hands to peel a shimmering immortal fruit, feeding it to me piece by piece. It was on an afternoon, after we had finished collecting the rent, that we naturally became Tao companions. Not far away, Gu Chen, the old man revered as the alchemy ancestor, was embroiled in a heated, face-reddening dispute over a stalk of immortal herb with his newly appointed final disciple, the newly ascended Zhang Daoshuan. At the distant mountain gate, Zhao Ji and Ma Yuan, those two former convicts, had become guardian generals whose power shook the region. Clad in golden armor and wielding divine weapons, they stood in solemn defense of this pure land. The long, stretching years had not only tempered their sharp edges, but had also guided them toward finding their own Tao within this sacred sanctuary. Their cultivation bases were no longer what they once were. Everything was peaceful and harmonious. At that very moment, outside the sanctuary, a young prodigy dressed in ornate robes, radiating an arrogant aura and possessing a cultivation base at the Tribulation Transcendence stage, stepped forth from the void. He hailed from an ancient hidden clan and had swept through his entire generation without a single defeat since his emergence. His heart was filled with the profound solitude of one who stands undefeated, and having heard the legends of the Pingxi immortal monarch, he remained unconvinced and had come specifically to issue a challenge, intent on shattering this myth to prove that he alone was the protagonist of this era. Chen Fan, come out and face me. The young prodigy's voice sounded like rolling thunder, echoing into the blue clouds with a supreme pressure, aiming to pierce through the chaotic barrier of light. However, the light barrier merely rippled slightly, dissolving his entire display of pressure into nothingness. He frowned, and just as he prepared to charge, the figure of Zhao Wuji appeared before the mountain gate. Gazing at the young prodigy, Zhao Wuji wore a smile that was both gentle and professional, as if he were merely welcoming an ordinary guest. Greetings, fellow Taoist. This is a private territory, and disturbance is forbidden. May I ask if you have an appointment? Zhao Wuji then pulled a thick, updated project portfolio from his robes and offered it with practiced enthusiasm. Would you perhaps be interested in renting a room? The young prodigy stared at the exquisitely crafted brochure, then at the gatekeeper before him, whose friendly smile masked a cultivation base of unfathomable depth, and he stood there, completely stunned. The heroic declarations and earth-shattering divine abilities he had prepared could not be uttered, not a single word. In the courtyard, I did not even open my eyes, merely parting my lips to accept the remainder of the immortal fruit Liu Qingyan offered, savoring the sweetness that belonged to me alone. The sun is beautiful, the breeze is gentle. Being a landlord who has become an